is brought to you by the People's National Party.
Make the trumpets play. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. We can tell me how we can do it together. When we look at the future of precipice, we see Jamaica needs the vision of the PNP. People say the bag of promises them can't carry go shop. And the crime rate getting higher. Wonder when it does now come Rex. Jamaican people want better. Economy coming like stormy weather. Ancestors are turning on them grave. We can tell me how.
The proceeding was brought to you by the People's National Party.
The scale of dealing with anti-corruption issues. So there is a learning curve that we are going through. What is important is that the government supports the development of the institution so it can accelerate very quickly on that learning curve and provide the resources so that they can move very quickly on the learning curve, and that the government does not intervene or interfere. And that message goes to the opposition as well. Leave the anti-corruption and policing agencies to do their jobs. I know why you come to me with that foolishness, you know. You elect a prime minister, and is a prime minister run the country. It is time we learn to hold our leaders accountable for their actions and stop making excuses for them. Stop making excuses. Otherwise, go elect the people who really run in the country. And I don't want the right start that stupid argument. Hold the people you elect accountable. And stop making excuses for them.
Hello, welcome. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to those in television land. Happy Tuesday to our silent supporters. Happy Tuesday to everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in as usual. Really appreciate the continued support. Remember, guys, when you come in, thumbs up the live, share us out if you can. And if you're new to the channel, please show us some support by subscribing. That will be greatly appreciated. Tonight's topic is the 90's Financial Meltdown with your host, Mystic Sensation, which is Baron and Anne-Marie. And we should be joined shortly by Melting Pot and Mr. Rattigan. Let me just take the time out to welcome those in the chat: Carla Ebanks, Dorothy McCoy, Donald Powell, Beverly 975, Paul Wilson, and our new channel member, Jazita Headley. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining our membership. Bless up yourself. Patel Cruikshank, Carmen Robinson, Josette Williams, Sharon Ricketts, Charmaine Platt, Rennie Swaby, Hope Well Nelson, Anthony R., Danette Harriet, Sonia Newman Smith, Diane Fox, Florence Denny, Bloomy Coleman, Leighton Brown, Elaine Tucker, Ashani Marcus, Gloria Blyden, Sadie Gale, Conroy Richards. Bless up. Thank you so much for your continued support again. And okay, Melting Pot is here. Merlin Mollioson, bless up yourself. Miss Winnie, bless up.
All right.
Judith Iberth, and a special shout out to all the channel members and also to all our moderators. Bless up on yourself. Without any delay, I am going to hand over to Baron to start the discussion.
Thank you, honey, for that wonderful precursor. But I have to say, my Jamaican people, right, that I am so happy as it relates to today's performance. Now, when we thought that, last week, Julian Robinson did extremely well, and, having to hear Mark Golding today, right, I will say that the comrade leader has lifted the bar higher, putting the Prime Minister on the fence and demand of the Prime Minister to really have a solid economic strategy, right? To take us out of the headwind of disaster, particularly in the crisis as it relates to the war in Iran, right, between Israel and the United States, right? That is going to have some ripple effect on us. And I think that the Prime Minister, the opposition, right, had done a wonderful job, right? But before we get into that, right, let me just have Melting Pot to meet and greet his people. Melting Pot.
Big up Sir Lord Byron. Big up Lady Anne Marie.
Blessings.
Enough respect to all our, ardent fans and supporters who tune in tonight, Tuesday night, to the Mystic Sensation Live. And you don't know, you hear the headline or I'm late out already. Man, I talk about the performance was laid down by the leader of the opposition, And I mean, we have to endorse those type of performance in recent weeks. We have seen where the People's National Party has laid down the gauntlet now in Parliament and make them know it's not a free time anymore, a work time and check and balance. Yeah, but big up my people them as usual, not the chat group. And big up my loved brothers and sisters them down in a ground zero as usual. Melting Pot send out the love and the blessing same way. I know everyone, who support real liberty, support the people them down in a ground zero. Because the people them not have no liberty over 5 months now. Yeah, but we will get into those matters as we proceed along. Big up all blood and fire comrade right across the globe. Especially to my people them in the 2 Mile region, Kingston 13. I mean, I shout out Crescent Road and St. Joseph Road and them places. Enough love and respect. Yeah? Enough love and respect, blood and fire comrade. Because you don't know, in this time, we're moving and we're striving for greater heights. I yield back the floor to the host, Sir Lord Byron.
All right, blessings. Let us warm up, the place until Brother Rattigan comes in. Let me say blessings to all the people in the chat and all people who tune in to the Mystic Sensation. Right? Love you all to pass through. Sister Pat calling already, I mean, Sister Pat calling already. Well on the Sister P. Well on the Sister P. All right, let me just let her go before we go in. Get in, Sister P. What say you?
Ray.
Ray.
What I said there.
Oh my God.
The man licks on 6 a clear boundary.
Oh Jesus.
Yo, and mistake.
Yes.
We don't know if you know watch it. But as a law enforcement man,
yes.
One part now, you see, when Mark was in a bat, most of them come out. I parliament, when I tell me count down with 6 of them in there.
Yes.
They can't take the pressure. You can't tell me say 6 of them want to go about in one time.
Oh my goodness.
Here Andrew will listen now. Listen, when Mark was lick him, watch it here. He said, boy, oh boy, you watch, you see him mouth. I know we have security, we watch body language. He slapped him. He said, boy, oh boy, can't take him neck. Well, I want to take this opportunity to say to Jamaica, you know, see where, if you are going to make it, where we lose.
It's sort of a great
the man not only tell you about the budget, he broke it down.
Oh, Jesus.
Show you how it can happen. The money where I use to that, I use to this and that and that and that.
Yes.
You see it? When I take off my hat to him, I'll go, I want to hat now. And Jamaica people, make sure they do the right thing. Because when we are heading why right now, German tell Trump saying I help him can they start no war. England telling me same thing.
All the NATO
Everybody
countries.
I'm alone left in it.
All the NATO
You
countries.
understand?
Yes.
So, and them are plans to raise taxes here by 16%.
Wow.
Sometime this month or next month. So, and then people are going dead out there. Anyway, we make sure calling early coming on this up when it class start.
All right. Okay.
Big up on yourself.
Big up yourself,
And
Sister
thank
P.
you to continue teach me and learn me and everything I want to say come to pass.
Exactly.
One love. Big
Thank
up.
you. Bless you.
Enough love, Mr. Pat.
I ever meet hard enough, brother.
All right.
Right.
Yes, Jamaica. I couldn't agree with Sister Pat more. My goal is just simply put all the ball over the boundaries. And, you know, to be honest, we always say that silent river run deep. And this is a total demonstration of Mark Golding. I think he was surgical, clinical, and well measured, right? I mean, he totally put the Jamaica Labour Party on the back leg, right? And particularly where Andrew Holness concerned, right? Defining the Jamaica Labour Party as it relates to poor governance and corruption. I mean, it was so excellent that comrade leader Mark Golding had done it under the banner, building better than before. And I think that was the perfect theme, the perfect banner, where Mark Golding executed honestly. You know, say, you know, me 100% Marky G, but boy, me I tell you, say, even at work today, I couldn't avoid in just, you know, tuning, and to show you how he was articulate, right? As I said, under the banner of building a bit better than before, right? He addressed the corruption, right? As it relates to, you know, strengthening of our anti-corruption system. That was a pivotal thing for me because, you know, right, for people who, you know, come over mystic sensation, right? The corruption is the thing, right, that bringing down Jamaica. And come on, we can just look at it to say that, okay, all right, as it relates to the damage of Hurricane Melissa, right, in terms of roughly about $2 trillion, right? But corruption as it relates to over $3 trillion unaccounted for, right? You know, comrade leader addressed that. He spoke about agriculture, right? And the cruelty of the Jamaica Labour Party member of parliament, right? Who asked, particularly James Robertson, let me call him name, who asked the people of Jamaica to vote for him. And when you expect, particularly the farmers, right, expect that you'd have a James Robertson, right, goes into parliament and fight for the issues concerning farming, right? James Robertson turned his back, right? He's one of those who bringing in a lot of onions and giving our farmers competition, wickedness, vulture capitalist, right? Crony capitalist. That is cruel. Mark Golding, right? The leader addressed that. I mean, again, Mark Golding addressed the NHT extraction, right? And speak about the $11.4 billion, right? Consistently being taken out of the NHT and the effect and the impact of that in terms of rendering NHT inability to build low-income homes for the very simple contributors who had paid their contribution over the many years. I mean, it was art rendering, right, in terms of what Andrew Holness has been doing with NHT. And, you know, also, it is just terrible. Mark Golding, again, spoke on limited utilization of the capital budget, right? The Jamaica Labour Party not spending the capital budget and using bureaucracy conveniently, right? So bureaucracy doesn't stop him, right, when he wants to give to his friend direct, right, procurement and emergency procurement, right? Bureaucracy didn't stop him, but anything, right, as it relates to the hurricane relief and deal with people, for people to be benefited from the hurricane relief program, right? A lot of bureaucracy him use, you understand? And Marky G call him out on those things, right? We have seen he spoke about national honor for Bob Marley, right? And Louis Bennett Coverley, right? And of course, he also addressed the upskilling of Jamaica workforce. But Jamaica, before we go any further, please, I am begging you, we have to play, we have to replay a little bit of Marky G. At least we could tune in to about 15 minutes, because when Rattigan comes in, right, we are going to ask Rattigan and the panel, right, to break it down, right, what, they get from what Mark Golding is saying and what, as it relates to the strong points. I mean, every single thing that Mark Golding touched, right, trust me, fundamental, every single thing. So we will see the panel breaking that down, right? So let us give them, right, a little bit of Marky G. Believe you me, when we know that Julian Robinson last week came out with fire, but I can tell you, Jamaican people, that today Mark Golding bringing in the living lava in Parliament, and trust me, the heat that permeated the Parliament, you can see Andrew Ones and the Labrats, they were just not comfortable at all. Pressure, and that pressure is going to burst pipe. Let us get into some of what Mark Golding had spoken about. Oh, not that. All right, so let us tune in some of what Mark Golding addressed today.
Our economic underperformance contributes to the high levels of migration, one of the highest rates of brain drain, the migration of our trained professionals in the world, the hollowing out of the middle class in this country, many of whom live from paycheck to paycheck like the working poor, despite their tertiary degrees and other qualifications, and the high levels of school absenteeism, teenage pregnancy, gender-based violence, and other social ills. So, having solved the chronic debt problem that we inherited in 2012, and that we put in the heavy lifting to turn around and I pause because I have to acknowledge the work that was done in the last PNP administration under the leadership of Portia Simpson Miller, most honorable, and Dr. Peter David Phillips as finance minister. Jamaica was heading off the cliff under the previous JLP government. We were unable to even sit the IMF tests, much less pass them. Our name was mud in the international financial community. It took us a year once we came back to office to persuade the financial community that we could be trusted with a new program. And we delivered on that program for Jamaica, and Jamaica's borne fruit from the work we did. But despite Jamaica having solved the public debt problem, and I say solved it in the sense that it's still high, but we know how to manage it, and we know what it takes to manage it. And we have been successfully managing it for 14 years consecutively. And with the murder rate falling significantly over the past 2 years, nevertheless, Jamaica remains disappointed that there are no signs of a strategic plan to deliver a strong, rapidly growing economy that creates abundant, good opportunities for our people here at home and attracts the return of Jamaican talent residing abroad. So, Madam Speaker, how do we lift ourselves out of this chronic economic lethargy? At the core of the solution is integrity. Honesty in what we say and do is the foundation of trust and confidence. A commitment to accountability and being transparent in how we govern and what we do in the name of the people as the servants of the people. We must strengthen, not weaken or undermine, the national institutions that were established to promote these principles. And we must hold perpetrators accountable for corruption. And of course, I speak of institutions like the Integrity Commission, which I had a foundational role in designing and bringing to Parliament as Minister of Justice, and the Financial Investigations Division. Madam Speaker, during the last general election in 2025, in the campaign, with its manifestos and its debates and its platform speeches, the Prime Minister did not even hint at, much less disclose, his intention to take the massive salary increase that he claimed he had given up when the heat reached him after Nigel Clark announced this massive salary increase on May 16th, 2023. Not a peep out of him in the election campaign. Can you imagine that in February this year, a month or so ago, we suddenly learned that effective from payday last September 2025, right after the election, the Prime Minister would be receiving his big salary after all. Madam Speaker, that is the latest chop. That is a real brogard move. It was a shameful deception, not worthy of the high office that you hold. Not worthy. Madam Speaker, as leaders, yeah, man. Madam Speaker, as leaders, we must hold ourselves to a high standard. And we should be quick to do the right thing by leaving the scene when transgressions come to light which are not compatible with clean and honest government in Jamaica today. Unfortunately, the reverse all too often prevails. Impunity rules the roost as persons in positions of responsibility become serial transgressors. And it doesn't seem to matter because nothing happens to hold them to account. Madam Speaker, we cannot build our nation that way. We cannot build a nation that our people aspire to and deserve on such weak and wobbly ethical foundations. That is why we on this side have signed the Leadership Code of Conduct produced by the Integrity Commission. Committing ourselves to upholding principles of good governance and being accountable if we fail to do so. You should be further strengthening the anti-corruption arsenal by introducing the important tool of unexplained wealth orders to further reinforce the tools available to law enforcement now for recovering illegally obtained income and wealth. That was agreed upon by both sides in 2019, but you have cast it asunder. Why have you abandoned the procedures of impeachment of parliamentarians and other holders of high office that former JLP Prime Minister Bruce Golding tabled in this House in 2011, and I updated by tabling a private member's bill in 2021? Why are you not pursuing procedures for the recall of non-performing elected representatives to ensure that there are consequences when conduct and performance fall below what is acceptable in a free and democratic society based on the rule of law? Why? We remain committed to these reforms that enhance accountability and good governance.
Let us stop and take that
why
away.
have you not joined in our call?
Yes, let us stop and take that away, and we have to turn to the panel. But let me say this, Jamaica, right? This is nothing but an indictment on Andrew Holness and his entire government, right? As it relates to Mark Golding defining the Jamaica Labour Party, right, as one to be so corrupted without plainly speaking that out. You know, when Mark Golding spoke about Andrew Holness as it relates to unexplained wealth orders, right? I mean, and this is one of the reasons why we said that the Prime Minister under investigation, he should have been, you know, taken away himself and to let the system work. Because, to be honest, this is really damaging, really damaging. And he sits there and he absorbed all of that. You know, it is, trust me. But again, you know, we have to give Mark Golding, right, the kudos to call a spade, look him in the eye. Remember, we told you, they always tell you that silent river run deep. And Mark Golding exhibited that. As I said, Mark Golding was surgical, clinical, and well measured, right? In basically telling Jamaica that the Jamaica Labour Party and the administration is corrupted. And he did not say that, right, straight out, but putting all the words together and what we can deduce from that, right? I mean, it was honestly, I mean, it was so embarrassing. And I, you know, it's, you know, but it goes to good governance, my Jamaican people. And we Jamaica, we have missed a leader. Mark Golding defined a leader. Defined a leader today. And make it clear to the entire world as it relates to not only critiquing the Prime Minister, but telling the Prime Minister solutions and asking the Prime Minister to be prepared as it relates to what is transpiring now, as it relates to the war, as it relates to Iran, United States, and Israel, right? And to come, that we need to brace for it. Now, Jamaica, we have missed a leader in this particular time. You understand? We are in a deep dilemma, knowing that Mark Golding is not at the wheel. And when we hear all the policies, right, of Mark Golding, believe you me, it's quite uplifting, right? I mean, it was just You know, it is just unbelievable and amazing. When I thought that Julian Robinson did well, which he did, Julian Robinson did well, but this is another level, right? Mark Golding had lifted up the bar. And one of the things that I love in terms of what Mark Golding said, you know, moving forward as it relates to the People's National Party from 14 to 28, he's going to hold the government accountable. And remember, you understand, he's looking them in the face, right, and speak what needs to be spoken. And he never mince his word. Wonderfully done, right? As I said, quite articulate. And let me just move to Brother Rattigan and ask Brother Rattigan, right? What say you? We're gonna have a melting pot close the gap where this is concerned. Brother Rattigan, you have particularly my eye point that I am taking from today's situation debate, right? For me, my the eye point is Mark Golding addressing the corruption and calling it out, right? And highlighting that, okay, if basically what Mark Golding is saying is that if you are not a party of the corruption, why are you going against the anti-corruption system, right? By even apply that you want to get rid of the illicit enrichment out of the Corruption Act. Mark Golding imply that, right? And, you know, I mean, we see where, of course, this man is a no-nonsense person, and he said to Jamaican people that he's there in terms of fighting corruption because we need to have a better place. What say you about it, Brother Ratti?
Yeah, it's funny because, first of all, good evening to everyone. Melting Pot, big up yourself. Lady Anne-Marie, Lord Byron.
Blessings.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because the only part of Mark Golding's speech that I caught today was the part that you played.
Yeah.
I got that particular section. It just so happened that I tuned in, and that was the part that I got. And at first, I wasn't quite sure if he was trying not to indicate that he was referring to of course he was referring to the government, but particularly the Prime Minister. But then he made it abundantly clear afterwards that you me I talk to.
Yes.
You know, and from what the bit that I heard, he was on point. He came with emotions. He came with a lot of fire. He came with his facts. He came with his analysis. He came. Yeah. Man come for talk up the things and the business, and he did. And this is what, and some people were saying a while back that this is the kind of Mark Golding they want to say. This is the kind of fire they want to say. They want to see, he must spit it. And I tell you what, for those of you who were wondering when you were going to see this Mark Golding, he's here. He's not going anywhere from where I say, if anything, he's not leaving the scene. He's going to be here for a while. He's going to be here for a long while. And, you know, the Prime Minister, I think he knows that his days are numbered. Just the fact that him start take the salary, because you know, him can leave now.
Yes.
Get the big money, you know. So all I can say is it was a very remarkable speech, very fiery speech, well crafted, and potently delivered. I mean, it didn't waste words. It didn't mince words. It didn't try to collect himself. And no, I mean, he knew what he was about. He knew the task ahead, and he came and delivered. All I can say is,
all right. Well said. Well said, Brother Ratti. Yes. I love that. You know, Jamaica people, believe you me, I today, Goose Pimple, right, took me over, and believe you me, as what Rattigan said, and I do concur, right? I mean, a wonderful delivery, well measured, right? And I mean, it was clinical, right, in his presentation. That was so awesome, right, in terms of look corruption in the face and call out corruption. Wonderful. We can't get it. We can't get it any better than this. Can't get it. We have seen Julian Robinson brought out fire in the parliament last week. Mark Golin brought lava, and that, for me, showed the entire world that Mark Golin deserved the leadership of the People's National Party, because he anchored himself today, right? Well measured. And I am saying that Jamaica, it's only sad that he's not at the helm as it relates to this perilous time, right? But let me just go over to Melting Pot, because Melting Pot has his piece. Now, brother Melting Pot, come in.
Yeah, man. I mean, I tell you, Sir Mark Golden, deliverance in a parliament today. I can tell everybody said it bring a shock to Andrew Holness's system and him cabinet members them. Yes. As it relates to the question and the accusation that Mark Golden was asking in parliament. And I mean, as Ratty said, him look him now him eye and tell him, say, you me I talk to, you Andrew. You understand? Yeah. Because him not just question, him lay out the accusation as well.
Yes.
As it relates to where him and everybody knows, say, Andrew are going with as the leader of the country. You understand? So I know it poses a shock to them system, because I don't think from 2016 him ever have this type of deliverance thrown at him. It was like, the full pelting of the brick. He never come up against this type of competition in the parliament. It was always weak and docile. But Marky G come and step up to the plate this afternoon and lay down the gauntlet. Make him know, say, at 28 and not 14 anymore. And him free time done. You understand? Them happy time when you used to have a gallivant in a parliament and I bring all them domestic affairs. In the south run with professionalism. Yeah, because Mark Jefferson Golden is behind the wheel now, driving politics to a new dimension in a parliament and in a Jamaica. Transparency and accountability have to be at the forefront of the governance currently led by Andrew Holness. And that Marky G I demonstrate to him. Yeah. So Marky G raised some very topical point, like the limited utilization of the capital budget. Then why you have such a big budget and you not use it? You understand? And that was a potent question. Him also speak on agriculture and specifically him question towards James Robertson having an importation agriculture license, but also a member of parliament and the one who head the Ministry of Agriculture. You understand? And then, him speak about building better, which is what we want to hear. Not like what Andrew Holness come out and talk about container house to replace people proper house. That is not building better. So Marky G, make sure mention that to him.
Exactly.
Marky G also speaking about the GLP not having a plan to grow the economy, which is so true. And I know him could have never, ever, deflect from that. Because we know them not have a plan. Remember, them never have no mandate, running alongside them election campaign. Them never have nothing on the card, never have nothing on the table. So them could never come with nothing to build a better economy. Yeah? And so Marky G ramp up the pressure upon him. And we know as it relates to transparency and accountability. Me like how Marky G put that forward. Yeah, because here it is, Marky G asked them again about the Impeachment Act and the Code of Conduct.
Yes.
Yeah, which is fundamental for any government. You can't just have government who will operate willy-nilly on their own behalf, without any checks and balance. And when question being asked, them tell you a Nancy Cobweb story. You understand? So that is showing that them don't respect any form of accountability and transparency. Now, Marky G make sure mention those two potent topics, yeah, which is very fundamental to how the country run. Yeah. So we know Marky G hold them in a Harlem rap. Yeah, Marky G hold them in a Harlem rap today. And I know this bring a lot of emotion to people who tune in because it's the first performance of concerted dominance by the opposition in a parliament. And it's been coming. We have seen signs of it happening in recent weeks where some high-level performance was demonstrated by the opposition, showing their full potency of being the opposition. You understand? Not coming in weak and fragile anymore, but coming in armed and dangerous with the question them like what Marky G asked. And we say kudos to that. And we respect how we see the opposition as being trending in recent weeks. And that's what most Jamaican people were waiting for this tremendous performance by the People's National Party, but none so more than the leader of the People's National Party. Well done, Sir Mark Jefferson Golden. I know you was an opening batsman for Jamaica, and I know you will deliver the runs. I yield back the floor to you, Sir Lord Byron.
All right. Blessings, melting pot. I mean, you have covered everything there as it relates to, the articulation of Mark Golden. Well done. And, Mark Golden mentioned something, right, today, and that is the thumbnail that we are going to be dealing with tonight as it relates to Finsac. Because we know that, right, dishonest and journalist is going to come out with Finsac, and that is why I am going to make sure that I, bring out all the details, right, in terms of making Jamaica understand, right, what is Finsac, right, being the answer for the 90s financial meltdown. And not only that, we are going to speak on it, right? Tonight, we are going to bring the solid evidence. So whatever Andrew Honest is coming with, right, we are asking him, right, to come with evidence, show source document. And that's what Mark Golden told him today. Let me play a little what Mark Golden, right, told him today, right? I mean, trust me, him get the full sledge. And him get sledge. Now, people, look at this.
The bitter medicine to the Jamaican people. And Prime Minister, you need to tell the people when you speak on Thursday what your plans are for protecting the society from the impact of this Middle East war, especially those who are still struggling to get their lives back together after Melissa. That's what the people want to hear from you, not Finsac. If you want to talk about Finsac, bring the report. Bring the report and let us debate Finsac. Bring the report and make us debate Finsac. Madam Speaker, as expertly, it will be bitter medicine to the...
Well, Jamaica, well, tonight me they bring part of the report, and go through the details, right? Marky G tell him, if you want to talk about Finsac, bring the report. Bring the report. Right? Let us debate it so that Jamaica can say, right? Bring out the report in the clear. Well, guess what? We now wait upon you to bring it out in Angeles. Tonight, Mystic Sensation is going to bring it out to the world. right? Now, my Jamaican people, let us listen to him because, you know, deceitful lie, right? Let us listen to him. And Jamaica, we are going to get into the details tonight. You know how we work around here. All right. Yes, honey. That Andrew on this clip speaking about Finsac. All right, let us get it. Right? Let us dig into that. And these are the lies that, you know, he continue to be telling. So, Jamaica, let us listen.
Because the root cause of the crisis, the Finsac crisis, was the premature policy decisions of the PNP to liberalize the foreign exchange market in 1991 without the necessary preconditions such as reserves in place. In other words, they went to party but didn't have any money. This triggered a rapid depreciation of the Jamaican dollar and skyrocketing prices, with inflation reaching 80% in 1991 and 40% in 1992. Not having any rent money to ward off speculators, the government then tried to protect the exchange rate through exorbitant interest rates. As a result, productive enterprises, especially small businesses, were unable to service their loans, and the loans became non-performing. Mounting non-performing loans and loan defaults then caused banks to collapse. The PNP's high interest rate policy created a two-tiered economy. One, where cash-rich speculators thrived while productive businesses drowned in insurmountable debt. This led to what a prominent member of the PNP described as the largest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich since slavery. Madam Speaker, who were the beneficiaries of this wealth transfer from the poor to the rich? Is there anyone in this house who was a part of this ill-conceived policy, whose business it was to profit from the great transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich? The fallout was immense. It is estimated that over 40,000 businesses collapsed, wiping out entrepreneurs and leaving thousands destitute. This decimated the manufacturing sector in Jamaica, burdened with high-cost debt, unable to retool to keep competitive. Many factories closed during this period. We recall companies like Thermoplastic, Highgate Food Products, Home Electrics, and others too numerous to name that could not survive the inhospitable climate that Finsac created. Those who formed the government that presided over this economic debacle have never apologized or even expressed any remorse. Worse, they have the audacity to lecture this administration on how to run an economy. For the next 20 years after the PNP inflicted Finsac, the Finsac shock, we basically just meandered along as a country with no attempt to fix the real problem. Our debt situation was already unsustainable when the global financial crisis hit in 2008, 2009, and that took the country to the verge of bankruptcy. Madam Speaker, the root cause of the crisis, the Finsac crisis, was the premature policy decisions of the PNP to liberalize the foreign exchange market in 1991 without the necessary preconditions such as reserves in place. In other words, they went to party but didn't have any money. This triggered a rapid depreciation of the Jamaican dollar.
Speak as it relates to Andrew Holness, right, blatantly, right, stood in Parliament and lied to Jamaica as it relates to what caused the 90s financial meltdown, right? And he spoke as if, right, that started under the People's National Party as it relates to high interest rate. The primary thing that caused right, the 90s financial meltdown, right, is really unsecured loans. But also, right, the high interest rate, right, did cause some pressure with some people. But when was it? When did that occur? He is so disingenuous, Jamaica. Let me show you when that occurred. That occurred under Edward Seaga. Let us go to the evidence as it relates to what he's speaking about. It wasn't the People's National Party. Let us go to that document to show Jamaica that what he said is a callous lie, right? That was not, as it relates to the liberalization, that did not happen under the People's National Party, the one that you just put up. Yes. Oh, you share? Okay. Here it is, people. Let us show the evidence. The Washington Consensus, a set of neoliberal economic reforms aimed at tackling debt through privatization and deregulation, was applied to Jamaica primarily throughout the 1980s and 1990s. One of the reasons for this, let me explain it, right? Why this have to happen as it relates to this vicious austerity measures placed on us. When Michael Manley, right, hand over power to Andrew Holness, he hand over the debt per GDP.
Not to Andrew Holness.
Sorry, when Michael Manley, yes, sorry, thank you, Melting Pot. When Michael Manley hand over the economy and over the country to Edward Seaga, right? Michael Manley hand over a 63% debt per GDP ratio. What Seaga did is what caused, right, trigger the high interest rate as it relates to within the 1980s and the 1990s. Here it is. These structural adjustment policies were intensified by the IMF and World Bank agreements during these decades, aiming to reduce state control in favor of market-based economy. Key points regarding the application. Time period. While the term was coined in 1989, the policies including privatization and trade liberalization were pushed in Jamaica throughout the 1980s. We know that 1980 to 1989 was Edward Seaga. Jamaica throughout the 1980s and continued into the 1990s. So, of course, Michael Manley came back and PJ Patterson came back and has to deal with, right, the situation, the mess that Edward Seaga created. Components, the policies typically included fiscal discipline, tax reform, trade liberalization, and privatization of state-owned enterprises, right? Similar to its application in Latin America, these policies intended to address economic crisis, but often brought slow growth, as discussed in the Jamaica Gleaner. Now, Jamaica, let us get to now, since we're partially addressing, right, the high interest rate. Let us get to something that is very much important here. When we talk about several banks that were connected to the Jamaica Labour Party, giving out unsecured loan, right? That is what really bring the shock in the 90s financial meltdown. And that strongly associated with the Jamaica Labour Party. Now, let us show the evidence. Honey, bring up that evidence. Let us show the evidence. To show you that, indeed, it was, right, bad loans, right, that was the primary. Here it is, people. Now, here it is. The 1990s Jamaica financial meltdown was driven by high non-performance loan, right, resulting from reckless lending during financial liberalization. And remember that we showed the liberalization that it came from Edward Seaga. So I want people to understand, you know, right? The 1990s Jamaica financial meltdown was driven by non-performing loans resulting from reckless lending during financial liberalization. So we are not talking, and we don't have the facts. We have the facts when we say that the primary contributor, right, to the financial meltdown was, guess what? A lot of the banks that associated with the Jamaica Labour Party, right, friends of the Jamaica Labour Party, was operating recklessly and carelessly, and here it is, right? The 1990s Jamaica financial meltdown was driven by non-performing loans resulting from reckless lending during financial liberalization, combined with high interest rate policies to stabilize the currency, right? And that, as it relates to the liberalization from out of Edward Seaga time, as interest rates soared to fight inflation, businesses could not service their debt, causing widespread bank failures and necessitating a massive government bailout through Finsac. Here it is. Key aspect of the financial meltdown. Here it is, people, not telling any lie. Reckless lending and poor oversight. The key aspect, you know. The key aspect. Reckless lending and poor oversight following liberalization in the early 90s. Financial institutions proliferated and may engage in poor risk management, including connected lending to directors, and we are going to show the evidence of that. You know, we are going to show the evidence. So we are not just coming out and speak and don't show the evidence. High interest rate policy to protect the Jamaican dollar. The government raised interest rates steeply. This made cost of capital unsustainable for productive businesses, causing massive default. But let us go into WikiLeaks document. And where WikiLeaks document is going to now emphasize that it was the bad loans. Let us get into that and show that. All right. Let us get into that and show this. Here it is, because I clip it from the WikiLeaks document. The overall health of the financial sector continued to struggle as a result of the government fiscal, debt, and monetary policies. The existing policy direction of increasing borrowing to reduce debt and fiscal deficit and to support high interest rate continue to lead to further consolidation, mergers, and bankruptcy of the sector and the economy. The asset portfolio of banks became heavily skewed towards government debt instrument and towards substantial support for other financial institutions as opposed to productive loans and consumer-oriented. Now, let us go to the principal causes of failure. Here it is, the principal causes of failure. Central National Bank failure was mostly caused by the same reason that caused the sector to collapse in the 90s. One of the reasons for failure was the fact that many banks, here it is, many banks, including Central National Bank, failed to comply with what? Proper internal control procedures. It was reported that the former head of CNB, Mr. Crawford, was allegedly found to have authorized substantial paper unsecured loans to companies in which he had an interest. CNB, high risk appetite, which was becoming very common among the local banks at that time, caused the company to suffer the outcomes of exposing to credit risk, resulting in the company becoming illiquid. The Central National Bank has also been allowed to run up large overdrafts at the BOJ to the tune of $4 billion. Here it is, you know, people. Central National Bank has also been allowed to run up large overdrafts at the BOJ to the tune of $4 billion, then this no must cause any financial meltdown, which was still not able to meet their obligation. The finance minister at the time attempted to broker a deal with other indigenous institutions, thinking that the merger would help with their current crisis. Only July 10, 1996, an account from the accounting firm Price Waters, right? Where's the next document? Let us go to the next document. Right? Okay, yes, that document.
It's not shared yet.
Okay, all right. Sorry about that. Now, here it is. Watch this, people. Ironically, it was Crawford's foray into non-core activities, which was partly responsible for the bank's demise. As a member of the unsecured loans were made to connected parties to finance these investments. In particular, the bank made loans to companies owned by Crawford, his mother, and former opposition leader and Prime Minister Edward Seaga. And we know that Crawford had taken at the time roughly about 31 to 33 million US dollars, right? And loaned it to Edward Seaga, and that money has not been paid even as we speak. One such loan was made to an affiliated company to construct over 700-room Renaissance Hotel. The unsecured loans to connected parties took a toll on the liquidity and solvency of the bank when they could not be financed. This prompted the institution to approach the government of Jamaica, right? So you see people, as a result of the bad loans that bring about the bad debt, right? They have no other reason now than approach the government of Jamaica for assistance in what? 1996, when funds were not available to pay depositors. However, recognizing the magnitude of the deficit, the government of Jamaica was forced to take control of the bank, right? The director of public prosecution, who was called into the probe the activities of the bank, ruled that Crawford, his mother, and top executive were to be charged for financial fraud. It is widely held that his close affiliation with the Jamaica Labour Party, not the People's National Party, you know, there it is, with the Jamaica Labour Party, did not help his cause. As to date, no other bank has been charged despite the failure of other institutions. However, the Privy Council ruling could well provide a precedent for other financial sector players to be charged, right? Because, as we said, the banks were operating carelessly, right? And so they were just lending out loans, giving out loans, and I mean billions of dollars. That automatically is going to crash the system, right? The head of the Financial Fraud Unit in the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, Caroline A., was hesitant to comment on whether there were other cases pending against other former bankers. She suggested that MBAF write to DPP Ken Pantry for a response, right? So this goes to show you, as it relates to, right, the impact as it relates to the bad loans. Now, take it away, Oni. Right? Now, let me just go to melting pot before I touch Brother Rattigan. Now, melting pot, as you see, as it relates to, right, the bad loans, right, that was a strong, right, factor. Yeah, we know about the high interest rate, that it have some issues as well. But remember that other banks, right, were not collapsed under the high interest rate. What really collapsed was to the fact that the high interest rate, one, and plus, you understand, the unsecured loans, right, that caused the 90s financial meltdown. What say you on the matter, Melting Pot?
Well, we all know how that was structured and formulated, you know, as it relates to Century National Bank, yeah?
Yes.
Run by Dan Crawford, but Dan Crawford having vested interest in the Jamaica Labour Party and having a top-level affiliation with the then Prime Minister, Edward Seaga.
Yes.
We know the Ponzi scheme where they were running at the time, where a lot of people go borrow money, but them lend them money, but the money not have no security tied to it. So it becomes an unsecured loan.
Exactly.
You understand? Now, when you have unsecured loan and you have the financial sector crumble under the weight of the amount of money, because remember I show you, Central National take an overdraft of $4 billion from the Bank of Jamaica.
Exactly. 4 billion.
You understand? So it tells us that Central National are run as a broke entity. It have to seek overdraft from the Bank of Jamaica. But the Bank of Jamaica must be held accountable at the time. Because I don't think Central National would have such a hefty overdraft when we can tap into to the tune of 4 billion. So that show me say some type of skull double play there. So, but at the time we were around the country. The Jamaica Labour Party with a criminal like Blind Aga. You understand? This is why I always tell people say,
because the high interest rate start from in the 80s with Edward Seaga, right?
Yes. Me go come to that, Sir Byron. Me go come to that. Yeah. When we want to establish, you see that 31 million US there. I never borrow Seaga borrow that, That was given to Seaga by Dan Crawford because Seaga helped Dan Crawford to get $4 billion overdraft from the Bank of Jamaica. That was his reward for having Dan Crawford being allowed such a hefty overdraft from the Bank of Jamaica. I remember at the time, Seaga was the finance minister, innit? Alongside being the prime minister, don't. He was prime minister and minister of finance.
Yeah, in the 80s. Yes.
Yes, so him a pull all the string. So that was a reward payment, the 30 million where he said he never remember because it crashed. When him come out, that was his alibi. Yeah, but it wasn't not when borrowed, it was given to him. But make we look on what slow down inflation. When you have rising inflation and borrowing, one mechanism you can use to slow down that, And it's high interest rate policy. Is either you leave the borrowing or you borrow at the high interest rate. So they had to put a deterrent factor, which was the high interest rate. So when Andrew come and talk about that, we know what constitutes high interest rate in the money market world. Yeah, we're not just so simple as how we look around here, sir, Andrew. We know about finance too. Yeah. So the amount of lending, yeah, are the money we're in the country. And they hear them talk about non-performance loan. The money they just are going at the Ponzi scheme. It never do nothing for kickstart no economy or nothing. It just are going at them schemes, so it's not really working. It's a money we're going to put in our scheme where them crash and that cause the meltdown. And remember, say, hardly saw man a yard in benefit from the bailout as well. You understand? Because we have to connect the thing from Seaga time, Come all the way back down, during that period where they mash up the country, Where you hear little idiot Andrew come out and talk about. Andrew not no clue, not no sense, Them man don't go study one subject, man. One subject them study and it not cover finance. Yeah? It cover all for trick and lie and con the people in Jamaica. Yeah? Political science him study, Yeah, that's all. So Andrew don't know not really about what I talk about. Yeah? We know about the meltdown in the 90s more than Andrew. Guys, PLI Andrew come out as spew on that document where I read off. You understand? Yeah? Them scheme mash up the place. And when the government of Jamaica buy up the bad debt them, yeah? And take full control of the bank them have to use the high interest rate as a deterrent factor to slow down the borrowing. You understand? And that's right there, So it's nothing to do with the People's National Party as it relates to that. And we are tell Andrew say, as the Marky G said, bring the Finsac report. Come. Don't just talk about it. Bring it, come. We've been asking for this document for so long. It is more than overdue. And you see, we have a same issue. We have the Kroll report now, you know, which is the same thing like the Finsac report, and them sit down on the same way.
Yes.
So I don't know what kind of, you know, shuffle this now Andrew Depan. You can't shuffle your way out of criminality, youth. You can't shuffle your way out of the corruption where you inherit from your great teacher, yeah, Edward Seaga. You know everything how Seaga had go on and perform. And you come back and you use it, but you tweak it a little bit different this time. But as I said, end result we have the country money disappeared. It's like how it did disappear in the 90s. Yeah, it disappeared again under your administration. And nearly $4 trillion now unaccounted for. And many more in some streamlined ministry where the auditor not really discover yet. Vast amount of trillion under them move again. Using this mechanism of mafia. Working as a mafia in the country. And Jamaica people have to understand that. So we don't want to hear nothing more about no Finsac and Meltdown in the 90s. Until you bring the document as it relates to the Finsac report, then we will not entertain you anymore with this discussion. Bring it, come. Bring the document, come on. And if you want to bring the last one, yeah, the Kroll report, bring it, come to. Exactly. Because Jamaican taxpayers want to pay for them there, you know. And the people need to know what's in the report. So if you always come out and show on your throne when you speak, how much, well, you're not sure, you speak, how much People's National Party cost Jamaica for this problem, because it started from them period in the 90s. Then you have the report, big man. We just bring the report, come. Bring it, come. It will solve the problem much easier. And everybody will digest what is in the document and come to their own conclusion. What you are doing for this long time, you have left the people them still grieving without any closure. And I yield back the floor to you, Sir Lord Byron.
All right, Brother Rattigan, take it right away, my brother.
Yeah, you know what? There's nothing I can say as far as Finsac that will, the substance of it, that will be an improvement upon what you and Melting Pot have said. Yes. In fact, I'm learning because there are some facts that you have brought out that I wasn't aware of. So what I'll do is I'll take it from a different angle. The different angle is this. And it's an observation and some recommendation. From what I can observe, it's abundantly clear that this whole thing that the Prime Minister is talking about is a lie. Yes, lie in the sense that he's trying to pin the blame on the PNP. But the facts speak for themselves. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying to myself, you know, this man, he's standing there making these false proclamations, and he knows that they're wrong.
Yeah.
He knows that they're wrong. But the politician in him, you know, because I know that his parents never grew him up that way. At least I'd hate to think that they grew him up this way, you know, and the community, you know, for him turn out. And I'm sure some of them look at him now and say, why, you know, we thought it was going to be a success, but not this route, you know, yes, exactly. A different route. So for him to stand there and spout these lies, it tells you something about the character of this person. Tells you about the person. This is just more than being a politician. This is a lasting part of his personality. The man cannot distinguish truth from falsity. Whatever him believe in, as false as it may be, him believe in it. Him believe in it. And so when you hear him talk these things, people, him believe when I say are true. But deep down, I'm conscious him know. I lie. Lie me, I lie. But somebody put in the chat say, Denzel, we have an actor in the personality and the person of the Prime Minister. What I would like to say, here's the recommendation. What I would like to say is this. For a lot of people, they don't understand Finsac, and so they hear it coming out of the mouths of politicians, and them run with it. No, we don't read much anymore. We're more visual, you know. When I say visual, yeah, reading, it's visual, but it's concentrated visual. This one I thought about is like you just open up your phone and you see some things and you look and you listen and you get sound bites. I would have loved to see the opposition party put up a chart. I would have loved to see them put up a chart in a parliament one day and say, listen, we are going to give the Jamaican people the history of Finsac. You hear it, but now you're going to see it on a chart and you can follow it. And I think that will resonate with people more. So if I could make a suggestion to them is that, yeah, somebody out there, like somebody who live in a rural Jamaica, well, not necessarily rural Jamaica, but somebody who's far removed from the news scene, and them hear the JLP said this and the PNP said this, them kind of get confused and them just go with either the last person them hear or the last politician them hear from or the last friend who tell them, say, so it go. I would have loved to see them put up something on a chart and just chart it and show people exactly what happened. And I think that will go a long way. Thanks.
You're complete, Ratty?
Finish?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. One of the things that really, born out here is the Jamaica Labour Party that run, that sort of campaign stunt in talking about Finsac and not telling the Jamaican people that many of the Jamaica Labour Party members of parliament benefited. And we are going to show some information where that is concerned. Now, only let us go to that document and show Jamaican people some of those who talking about Finsac who benefited, including the Prime Minister, benefited from Finsac. So let us get into that and show that document as well. Right, here it is. Based on record from April 2008, former Jamaican Finance Minister Dr. Omar Davis stated that several cabinet ministers in the then present administration Jamaica Labour Party, including Finance Minister Adli Shah, had bad loans. There it is, people. Several of them had bad loans acquired by Finsac, right? Now, the key details of the statement, the claims, Dr. Davis stated that at least 4 cabinet ministers and 1 minister of state had their bad loans acquired by Finsac. No wonder why they don't want to come out with the report, people. When you see the reason why they don't want to come out with the report, because if they come out with the report, obviously, right, Jamaicans are going to understand what happened as it relates to the 90's financial meltdown due to failures to service debt, right? So just imagine, and they are the ones now coming out speaking on Finsac, right? This is to show you how conniving and, trust me, it is just devious. I can't put it any other terms more than say that they are really devious, which were subsequently sold to the Jamaican Redevelopment Company. Here it is. Conflict of interest. Davis argued that this situation created a conflict of interest, stating that Mr. Shah had no moral authority to lead the Commission of Inquiry into the 1990's financial sector meltdown. People don't see this. People know what you know. After the man who bad debt, and him same one want to lead right, the Commission of Inquiry into the 1990s financial sector meltdown. Now, can you imagine this? Look at this. Oh, this is embarrassing. Eh? The man who helped to create the problem want to be leading the Commission of Inquiry. No, we can't make up this in a people. Here it is. Conflict of interest. Davis argued that this situation created a conflict of interest, stating that Mr. Shah had no moral authority to lead the Commission of Inquiry into 1990s financial sector meltdown and Finsac operation, right? Knowing to the fact in terms of he is a participant. Now, which other person you see going around actively speaking about Finsac? Make us show Jamaica that he also benefited from Finsac. Look at this, Jamaican people. Right? Look at this. Andrew Holness himself, the Prime Minister himself, being investigated by Zara Burton. Here it is, we're not lying. Show the evidence. Here it is. MP Andrew Holness bought Finsac house in 2002 as thousands of Jamaica face ruin from the financial crisis. Now him claims it is the greatest transfer, right, of wealth from the poor to the rich. Now him same one so. No, look on the hypocrite. Look on the hypocrite people. Jamaica, look on the hypocrite. Now watch this. On August 10, just before announcing the September 3rd general election date, Jamaica Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness derided the opposition People's National Party, PNP, over the high interest policies of the 1990s, PLI, tell you now, which crippled the financial sector, caused thousands of entrepreneurs to lose their homes and businesses, and caused Jamaica 40% of its GDP, as according to him, you know. Addressing a galvanized crowd of Jamaica Labour Party supporters, Holness targeted opposition leader Mark Golding, whose former investment firm profited during the period, declaring no poor person in Jamaica should ever allow that man to touch the economy. You hear them lie there? When promoted? You hear them lie there? When promoted and I accuse Mark Golding, and at the same time, you know, because he and his friends would continue where they left off of transferring wealth from you to their coffers. Jesus, peace. Say, believe you me, he contrasted this with his own record. I went through the Jamaica struggle and I never made any money on the backs of the Jamaican people. No, him never going to Cash Plus. Him never going to Wallet. And him never going to SSL.
And he made tons of money.
Him never do the best of them. Jamaica people, make we talk them something here. Andrew Holness, let us talk it. Andrew Holness never joined Wallet because the financial meltdown caused them Ponzi scheme there, you know. All of those Ponzi scheme came out of the financial meltdown as it relates to Central National Bank, you know. And Parching and Associate Bank, you know. Me I tell you what go on, you know. And Andrew Holness, who joined Wallet, who joined Cash Plus, who joined SSL. Hear what Andrew Holness say so. Hear what Andrew Holness say so. Because he and his friends, I'm not going to talk, you know, would continue where they left off of transferring wealth from you to their coffers. The man that identify himself and a put film situation what he had done, you know, to Mark Golding, you know, vicious. They give Mark Golding his sins, you know. He contrasted this with his own record. I went through the Jamaican struggle. Hear him. I went through the Jamaican struggle and I never made any money on the backs of the Jamaican people. This is a man of a past prison, man. Mighty goodness. No, watch out. However, an 18 degrees north investigation raises question about whether Holness himself may have benefited from the very fallout for which he condemns the PNP. Look at now. In 2002, the then first-time opposition member of parliament and his wife, Juliet, who would later also become an MP and Speaker of the House, purchased a property whose loan had been taken over by the government's financial sector adjustment company and made it their home. Want to hear that, people? Finsac had been created under the PNP in the 1990s to inject billions of dollars into the collapsing financial institution and rid them of their bad loans. So that was Finsac responsibility. Back then, questionable business practices coupled with the government's policy of raising benchmark interest rate to combat high inflation had hurt financial institution, and coupled with that, right, as it relates to what we are talking about, let us read it, with average commercial lending rates ballooning from 17% in the early 1980s. See there? So Zara Burton also picked it up as it relates to 1980s with Edward Seaga to almost 50%. Let me read back that over now, because I want people understand where it come from, you know. Say it come from as it relates to the high interest rate. You understand? As it relates to Edward Seaga policy. Now, with average commercial lending rates ballooning from 17% in the early 1980s, people. So when we attack and other people attack, you understand? We are showing solid information coming from, you understand, investigation. To almost 50% a decade later, business owners were struggling too. Among them were Brian and Beverly Morgan, who had borrowed heavily to finance their flower farm in St. Catherine, Blooming Things Unlimited. All right, take that away. Right? And we know many bad loans that caused this. But Jamaica, look where I'm going now, Jamaica. Look where I'm going now. When we think about the 1980s as it relates to high interest rate, right, as it relates to Seaga, right, and the IMF, right, as it relates to the Washington Consensus, right, that helped to trigger it from in the 80s, Now, for all the banks, this is where we are going, Jamaica. I want people to listen to me, to show you how Andrew Holness is devious. All the banks who lend out money to them friends, to them elite friends, and lend themselves money, right? Them, you know, borrow from the entire bank that they are operating, you know, Dan Crawford, because I showed the information, right? Who was there during that period of time? Jamaica, you know who were there that period of time as it relates to involved in the 90s financial meltdown? Hugh Croskery, Paul Cheng Young, Dan Crawford. Andrew Holness knew them. Andrew Holness was associates of them. Now, watch this. I am going to show you the evidence as it relates to Paul Cheng Young, right? That helped to cause the 90s financial meltdown. I have the evidence to show you that he was prosecuted. Him and Hugh Croskery hide several properties in Miami, where Andrew Holness, right, are fully aware of that incident. Watch this now, Jamaican people. Let us go into serious investigation now. Here it is, people. We are not telling any lie. Croskery assures Court of Corporation and Cheng Young Properties. This is May 23, 2007. Andrew Holness, when you are talking about the 90s financial meltdown, you and these criminals, Hugh Croskery, Paul Cheng Young, and Dan Crawford, right? These people who aligned with the Jamaica Labour Party, right? And where you created, you understand, the Ponzi schemes, right? You were a part of it. You and Andrew Holness was a part of it. Here it is, people. The Supreme Court has lifted the injunction against Hugh Croskery in his capacity as trustee of Phoenix Note Holders Trust. The stockbroker has announced in a public statement. Now, Justice Marjorie Cole Smith had initially placed an injunction on Croskery to May 10 and had given him 14 days to declare the locations of all the assets held by him on behalf of Phoenix, whether in his own name or nominees. And so Phoenix is Paul Cheng Young, you know. You understand which part you Croskery is hiding properties, right? For Paul Cheng Young, you know. You understand where they take investors' money, you know, right? Now, Croskery says he has given his undertaking to the court not to dispose of any assets held by the trust without notice or consent. The assets were frozen in mid-April on the application of Jamaica Solicitor General Michael Hilton QC, who had traced ownership of the properties held by Phoenix to Paul Cheng Young, right? Former head of the collapsed Eagle Group of Companies. Now, remember, say, the Eagle Group of Companies collapsed as it relates to the 90s financial meltdown, you know. So this also is a part of what caused, right, the 90s financial meltdown. Here it is, you know. Paul Cheng Young, former head of the collapsed Eagle Group of Companies. The Miami court has since lifted the freeze on Cheng Young, which means he is free to transact business with them in that jurisdiction, right? Croskery said of his role in the trust that he acted purely in a representative capacity as trustee for a small group of investors who put up the funds to purchase houses. As trustee, he ensured that their investments were protected, just like how he ensured that the investors in SSL protected, and people, you know what happened. The statement said, no, barred. The courts in Jamaica and Florida had barred Cheng Young and Croskery from disposing of the assets on the application of Eagle Merchant Bank and Crown Eagle Life, two of Cheng Young's former companies commandeered by the Jamaican government at the advent of the financial sector meltdown. When you hear it, let me read back that over, you know. Let me read back that over because I want to know, say, Andrew Holness specifically play a part with them in the financial meltdown in the 90s, and Andrew Holness come back and play a part with them as it relates to SSL, to do the same thing, to repeat the same thing. So I am not making up anything on Andrew Holness, you know. Me only just show you the information. Here it is. The courts in Jamaica and Florida had barred Cheng Young and Croskery from disposing of the assets on the application of Eagle Merchant Bank and Crown Eagle Life, two of Cheng Young's former companies commandeered by the Jamaican government at the advent of the financial sector meltdown. Croskery has again asserted that the freezing order was not related to his securities brokerage, Stocks and Security Limited. Look now, people, formerly Paul Cheng Young and Associates, of which he is a chairman. So, people, here it is, and here is the evidence that SSL being transformed from Paul Cheng Young and Associates. The SSL that you see Andrew Holness, Darrell Vaz, Hugh Croskery, and all of them, you understand, come and give it life. Come and give it life. It was Paul Cheng Young and Associates, you understand, company that involved in the 90s financial meltdown. Now, hear this, people. Hilton presented evidence to the Kingston and Miami courts showing that Cheng Young, despite a court order on May 4, 2006, to declare his assets and not to deal with or dispose of any properties without approval, had transferred 19 properties to Croskery on May 12. Just days after, you know, the judgment against him to pay over 900 million plus with interest. So then they were found guilty. Now, 3 other properties were transferred to Croskery on May 24th and June 15th of that same year. The former Eagle boss also held 170 Florida properties in a company of which he was president, director, and treasurer. So from a long time, as it relates to the 90s financial meltdown, take it away on it. As it relates to the 90s financial meltdown, what I want to tell people, that these Ponzi schemes existed out of that, and they are associated with the Jamaica Labour Party. This is the evidence. They are associated with the Jamaica Labour Party. Now watch this, people. When the People's National Party went into power, by 2013, Portia Simpson closed down SSL. But we are going through tonight, and we are show you how vicious Andrew Wallace is. You know, that Andrew Wallace was also a part of the 90s financial meltdown, you know, and benefited from it, you know. Benefited from it, you know. Right? Now, watch this, people. Now, here it is. As it relates to Robinson, which they came out and tried to tell lie on the People's National Party. Now look at this. Yes. Now let us look at this to show you. Robinson hits back at Fitz-Henley, claims that PNP failed to safeguard SSL investors. Look how wicked Abka Fitz-Henley wicked, man. Eh? Look how wicked Abka Fitz-Henley wicked coming out with them things. Now, watch this now. Kingston, Jamaica, People's National Party spokesperson on finance, Julian Robinson, has hit back at accusation made by Jamaica Labour Party, Abka Fitz-Henley, that the former PNP administration had failed to act on warnings from the Financial Service Commission regarding embattled Stocks and Security Limited in 2013. Like I'm telling you. And remember, say, Andrew Holness, the giant Olent, Andrew Holness, you know, people, giant Olent from 2006, you know. Andrew Holness again left Olent and going to Cash Plus 2007, you know. And left Cash Plus from 2007 and going to SSL 2008, you know. Just look, you know. Just look. Now, why am I showing this? I am going to show you where the People's National Party had locked them down. But guess what? Andrew Holness, give them life again. Give them life again. And Andrew Holness know that you, Croskerry, and Park Chen Young involved as it relates to the 90s financial meltdown. He knows that these people are criminals. Now, look at this now, Jamaica. Robinson, in a statement on Monday, dismissed the allegation by Fitz-Henley as false, labeling them an insult to the Jamaican people. He added, the PNP acted decisively in 2013 to protect investors, while the GLP administration chose to trust SSL false assurance in 2017. Look, Panda. Remember, you know, SSL involved as it relates to Paul Chen Young and associates in the 90s financial meltdown, that caused the 90s financial meltdown, you know. And where they rob up investors' money and go buy up several properties in Miami, you know. This is the person Andrew Holness, Jamaica Labour Party, linked with, you know. Hear it here. I'm not lying. The PNP acted decisively in 2013 to protect investors, while the GLP administration chose to trust SSL false assurance in 2017, paving the way for the catastrophic fraud. The Holness administration must answer why it lifted restriction on SSL without proper verification, leaving Jamaican vulnerable. So then, the PNP locked them down. But GLP administration lifted restrictions. See there? Which part Andrew Holness know? So these people run Ponzi scheme. which he was a part of as it relates to oil in 2006. He was a part of Cash Plus as it relates to 2007. He was a part of as it relates to SSL 2008 to 2021. And every time Andrew Holness is at the top of the pyramid. So when investors put in their money in the Ponzi scheme, Andrew Holness and the people who are plan with, they benefited and take with the people their money. Unless Andrew Holness wicked. People may have shown you the evidence Andrew Holness evil. Andrew Holness are run with them people here. Use his administration to lift restrictions from them people over the PNP lockdown. According to Robinson, under the PNP government in 2013, then Finance Minister Dr. Peter Phillips and the FSC took immediate action, issuing a directive requiring SSL to suspend critical activities due to breaches of the Security Act. Now, watch this now. Let me go the last report here. People, I'm going to show you the level of wickedness now. Remember when all of this are going on, we never know, say, SSL no have no license, people. Andrew Holness administration make SSL they operate without license, Andrew Holness. Now, these are the same people that caused the 90's financial meltdown, People who look on it. See now, editorial SSL arrest, not for the money. Now look, in parsing the circumlocutory remarks of bosses at the investigative agencies that were involved in last weekend choreographed arrest of 3 former officials of Stock and Security Limited, it is possible to conclude that at some time in the future, other people will join Gene and Pantan in being charged for actual stealing money from clients of the collapsed brokerage house. In February 2023, nearly 3 years ago, Ms. Pantan, who was a senior client service manager at the company, was charged with several counts of theft, forgery and falsification of accounts. To be clear, this is not what happened with respect to SSL founder and principal Hugh Croskery. Mr. Croskery's daughter Sarah Minnie and SSL former CEO and Mr. Croskery's one-time business partner Zachary Harding. The accusation against them are essentially for technical breaches relating to how they function in the security sector, such as not having a dealer's license to operate in the security sector. So look on it now, people. Nigel Clark would have known about this, Because remember that Nigel Clark, the FSC, had done audit and sent information to Nigel Clark. Nigel Clark would have known about this. So Nigel Clark and Andrew Holness would have known that SSL don't have a security license, and they be a part of SSL that don't have no security license, right? And we are investors putting their money in a SSL, and Andrew and him friend them take it away. Andrew and Darrell Vaz and him friend them take with the people their money. See it, I'm in a line. Issuing securities without applying to do so, or registering the specific security with the FSC. Dealing in foreign currency, see it, because all about money gone, Dealing in foreign currency or foreign currency instrument without the imprimatur of the central bank, So Andrew Holness and Nigel Clark knows the SSL are fraud, people. Knows the SSL are Ponzi scheme, Knows the SSL no have no license, people. Andrew Holness and Darrell Vaz in a SSL and I tell Jamaican people on campaign, PNP. They don't vote for PNP because PNP deal with the greatest transfer of wealth from the rich to the poor people. How what is Andrew Holness do yourself? What is this Andrew Holness is doing right here, sir? See that? Failing to lodge the charter names of directors and beneficial owners of his Barbados registered investment firm, Delta Capital Partners, with Jamaica Registrar of Companies, as is required by the Island Companies Act. These claims, if true, would be significant breaches. Right? So now, let us take that away and let us go to the panel here. Now, let us speak now to the people them now. Serious, in a very serious way. Now, Brother Melting Pot.
Yes, sir, Byron.
You cross carry Paul Cheng Young, right, as it relates to the report that we look at, involving the 90s financial meltdown. Right? Where the entire Century National Bank collapsed as a result of them taking investors' money, right? And go to Miami and go buy a property and all of that. We have seen Dan Crawford, right? Also lend Edward Seaga $31 million. So from then you see they are operating Ponzi scheme of bad loans, giving out loans to them friends, them family. Dan Crawford, all himself get loan. You are going to tell me now that Andrew Holness, who became a part of Olint, who became a part of Cash Plus, who became a part of SSL, knowing very well that, okay, all right, Cash Plus, Olint, many investors lose money out of Olint, and him benefited because he's at the top of the pyramid. He's in the hierarchy of the pyramid. Him and them the rule. Him and them are trick people. After him trick people in a Olint and rob investors' money, it sweet him jump cross to Cash Plus. He did the same thing in Cash Plus. Then, of course, in 2008, 3 years straight, look on it, If Jamaica people don't see what is going on here, 2006, Olint, 2007, Cash Plus, 2008, SSL. And this man, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, knowing to the fact that investors been robbed, knowing that these are Ponzi scheme, the Prime Minister play a solid part. Have we ever seen any other Prime Minister involved in any Ponzi scheme? And Andrew Holness know very well that these were the same players, the very same players, the very same players in the 90s financial meltdown. So let me ask, Andrew Holness, have you seen any PNP associated with them? Right now, as we speak, under your administration here, right? You are the ones who are still associated with them from then until now. That is evident. So, you tell people about Finsac. You are telling people about Finsac when your hands all over Finsac. You even been benefited by two of the Finsac homes. You and Adley Shaw and other members. Hey, look here, Jamaica, wake up. Now, Melting Pot, what say you on the matter here?
Well, this matter, is a matter where several more high-profile people, if me I prosecute this case here, me have several more high-profile people me have to all in, Me have to all in Richard Biles, the man where I run down a Bank of Jamaica. And me have to all in Keith Duncan, the man who at the time responsible for the stock exchange. Yeah, because all of them are player behind this operation, But Andrew the man will star the role. him are the prime minister, you know. And
Yes.
him are the man who always up over the fence with the Ponzi scheme. Every one of them him involved in it. So you know him are the ringleader. That's why you see all of them in them. Yeah. And more so the man have a persona where him, you know, exercise like him is this ultimate leader for Jamaica. Him have this dominant force. We're untouchable. So you know everybody know rally behind him. That's why you cross creek call him Prince Andrew. Cause him just a give them what them want. And the string them a pull. Yeah. And the string them a work in them favor. Yeah. And them have it say Andrew at the Dan for Jamaica. Let me use that term there.
Yes.
Cause Andrew not come in a politics as a, you know, upstanding individual, you know. We have criteria we have to demonstrate as it relates to leadership, you know. No, I'm just coming as a rogue, a Dan. Cause I'm coming under the pretext of telling lie, you know. I'm lie to the Jamaican electorate, you know. Lie against the People's National Party at the time. Saying all type of various manner of evil. Right now, all of the evil them see. And them surrounded right now. And the people them must be fully aware. Say all the way Andrew tell them it a play out back now. But at him, at the laughing stock. At him the joke is on. Yeah. But this is not a joke business, it's a serious business. Yeah. You see when you have people like Nigel Clark, I'm not call him Nigel, you know. Nigel Clark. Yeah. Where Andrew, mentor. Yeah. To tell lie in the financial capital sector of Jamaica. Unbelievably, you know. Nigel Clark knows the man them not have no license. Richard Biles down a bank of Jamaica knows say SSL not have no license. Keith Duncan, who represent the stock exchange, him know them not have no license. But they all formulate to allow SSL to act as if it's a regulated body when it not have no regulatory fence around it. Yeah, nobody don't know it, it register. But yet still it operate using all US currency. A big trouble of administration in, you know. I just do Trump use Andrew Holness as a bargaining chip. Yeah. Forget most of Jamaica sovereignty. Why them at all him in already? Because I not just the fact that him touch the SWIFT system with him 700,000 US, you know. Is the fact that him lower unregulatory banking sector. Yeah, that is designed to deal with stocks and shares to operate like a commercial bank. You understand? And the big problem that, you know, so we understand the whole case surrounding SSL. Yeah. We know say Pumvaz, the lieutenant to Andrew Holness, always involved at a high capacity in the corruption. And that is why even in the Finsac beneficial sector as it relates to them buying house, Pumvaz did buy house too. Andrew buy house. Yeah. And them sell them on and make millions of dollars in profit. You understand? So we know all of this. But watch this now. Where Jamaican people have to realize, yeah? You see some little germs like fish headlets where come out and implicate People's National Party in a them Ponzi scheme. All him for charge for treason, you know. Because remember, we have the full-scale document by SSL and it not sure when no People's National Party representative did have any part to play in a SSL. Not even of having any money invest in a SSL. Yeah, it was a Jamaica Labour Party run scheme. You understand? Yes. Now, did Andrew Holness know about that? 100%. Him know about it. Then we have to ask ourselves the question now. Is Andrew Holness, you know, truthful to Jamaican citizens? No, him not truthful to them. Cause him suck them in a Ponzi scheme where him know so them cannot win. It's only who in the pinnacle point of the Ponzi scheme can ever come out with any reward. Everybody else are going to lose. And Andrew stay the duration of that course. Yeah? And coming up to the pandemic period of time, during that time, Andrew, with inside information showing how much is at the top echelon of this Ponzi scheme, him take out all the fee money. Yeah, Andrew withdrew all his money. But at the time, the country supposed to under lockdown. None of those activity not supposed to go on. But Andrew was secretly removing his money because they were about to crash SSL. Yeah, and there's a reason why them do that, to show the criminality, Them crash it on the back of the pandemic because you have to use it to business slow. And then now it come under increasing pressure because the investment couldn't go on. That them come with a pretext there, But not like that. Them never really invest about the money. Them just use that topic of investment, but it wasn't an investment scheme. We can't find an investment where we can't find an investment. You know that, Sir Byron and Sir Rattigan. We can't trace no investment where SSL did that do, Them never do no investment.
Yeah, but they have no license.
Them never have no license. So them could not do none. So it was just Andrew knowing fully well, say, him involving a sub. This is why bad for Andrew people. Andrew knows him involved in a scheme. We cannot do nothing with them prescribe it to do. It can't do no investment. It don't have a license. But it allows to suck in people money, investors, based on the high interest rate where them offer. You understand? That would attract anybody. And Andrew played a role with the Jamaican investors. Not just locally, but also from overseas in the diaspora. And him and him friend them once again carry out another 90s coup with investors' money. I third time Andrew do it. And Andrew must go to prison for this behavior practice where him continue to demonstrate. Him like the Ponzi scheme them. Because Andrew is a criminal from the bowels of the ghetto of St. Catherine. Yeah? Andrew a criminal. Andrew not different from none of the high school youth them, who turn out to be criminal, top level criminal and murderer, So the university where go study this one subject, social science. When study the mood of the country, the people them, and act upon that because that's a film speciality. Yeah, that's why it's a soundbite guy. That's why it's a PR guy. That's why it's a guy will make people style him down to earth like Big Wood Andrew. Him know them thing they are soundbite. Him like them type of behavior there. That's why the only prime minister where him life end up in a parliament with him wife and him sweetheart, the two of them not being friends. You understand? And it cause a whole ramification and desecration of our parliament. The first man to bring those type of culture in our House of Parliament. Now we have to see Andrew for who he is. Andrew is nothing but a garbage who will stop at no length and breadth to rob the Jamaican people of their wealth. Because I want to know how much wealth he can carry with him. But a paranoid, him get paranoid now the whole heap of shitty thing that I'm involved in, The whole heap of large thing and the whole heap of, things that were demanding him doing certain things to him people. We can't have a leader for the country where him involved in a thing we call for blood as a means of sacrificial. Oh, your leader go wrap up in a them nastiness there. Eh? And I run them thing there as something that will sustain his parliamentary life. Like this large thing, I go plant him in a house of parliament forever and ever until him say amen. Andrew, me I make you know that I go work around here, you know. Me melting pot now ease off the heat off of your nastiness, you know. I crush you in a 2026. Because you deserve to be crushed. You have ruled for a decade. And your decade is nothing more than mayhem in a Jamaican society. You mash up everything from left, right, and center. You give away everything. You disrespect the people of your country. Yeah? You sit down for $6.7 billion US where you get in the hurricane relief program. And I know you're not doing it for the people. You sit down for most of the things that are coming. The food and water supply for the people. I know you don't distribute quarter. You create nasty and pen. And you don't put no checks and balance in of what goes in and what come out. Yeah? And everybody could see plain and simple way I do. Because we have a disaster first, category 5. Yeah? And when instead of you use the people with the knowledge that they have increased from over the years of being in that capacity as it relates to ADPEM, yeah, Office of Disaster and Risk Management, yeah, what you do, you here still change it and bring a guy from over the army fence, a guy named Alvin Gale with guns and bat as it relates to the duty that is required at ADPEM. You have to use back Richard Thompson. Yeah? To train him the man where you're Lego, you know, the top man, you know. You use him to train this piece of shit where you care from over the army. Because Jamaica people must by now realize every man where you put in a some position, some people were not involved in a politics. Yeah, they don't have a political life. But you draw them from the army. Gugu Gaga, Anthony Anderson from the army. Rocky Mead from the army. Alvin Gale from the army. So this Jamaica political landscape now is being militarized. So we are having a dictator, that's what it is. When you see a leader attach himself to the military in our country, he is a dictator. When you see a prime minister always out there sitting up amongst the policemen and women, serving men and women of the country, and they having to, you know, acknowledge him as sir and all these type of things when this guy is not on the battlefield. It shows that the country is in a grip of a dictatorship and we have to remove the grip of the dictator hands off of the country. Because we cannot allow the whole in his family to build a dynasty. We cannot do that. What has the whole in his family contribute to Jamaica? I want any sensible Jamaican tell me. What good the whole in his administration have done for Jamaica? Well, in my eyes, I don't see any good. Apart from showing corruption to be the, what you call it now, the holy ground at Jamaica in under FEMA administration. Everybody participate in a corruption. Now we have all the policemen them sell cocaine. Yeah, we have all the commissioner wear Rolex watch, the man them squadded them. Call them down at them big Manchester boys party. And I down there so the bling bling them show off people. Yeah, because the Manchester boys them, you know, as far as we know, you know, is an element of destruction to Jamaica. Because some guy will come in politics only for one objectivity, is to become wealthy and wealthier. Them come in politics with no farmer, financial background status, no business perception, but them become businessmen and businesswomen by just becoming a politician, you know. It gives them that status. No, we have to change that in our country. You're a politician, you're a politician. You cannot be politician and businessman simultaneously. Who you working for? Who are the taxpayers' money paying? So we have to get a grip at the country out of Andrew hand. We cannot allow Andrew to continue this debacle of destruction amongst the people. Working the people as modern day slave in a Jamaica. Little acknowledgement as it relates to salary for them job. You understand? But high tax and high inflation as it mean take it back. So Jamaica people are working for nothing, you know. I recycle money Andrew Hollis administration depend. They are not creating any form of new job, any form of new sector as it relates to expanding the country economic aspect. You understand? So Barbados, they are use the digital nomad and make crazy money. But our foreign affairs minister, Camilla Johnson Smith, she just sit down on her little backside and just rob the country money from the taxpayers. Then they pay back the money where them getting and them raise and pay. Because none of them now work. So when we say Andrew take fame one, I trick the people them again, you know. Come out after him to Marky G demonstrate real gentleman and sportsmanship in knowing so well then the country cannot, you know, honor this type of salary package to no politician at the time. Coming off the back of the pandemic. Yeah? And also looking at the state of the economy. Marky G with his own rights and art of arts. Yeah, as a leader should be. Demonstrate in no uncertain manner that him don't see it acceptable for him take that money there. Knowing the state of the country affair. But Andrew though, play a little game. See him come. Say from September I want all that money retroactively. That means anything we have him just bungle it up and give him want it. No, we can't have a guy like this coming out and, you know, utilizing his bold and pugnacious ways of governing the country. Him lie to you today and him come and prove to you tomorrow or next week saying they lie. You understand? We can't have him. So when we have to know to our people now, at time we root out this evil out of our society. At time we move him and strike 14 from out of the political remnants. We don't need them. They are the one that leave Jamaica precariously perched upon the verge of collapsing. Remember, you know, Jamaica economy, a ventilation it depends right now. Because it cannot provide for itself. There is no mechanism in Jamaica currently to grow the economy. So Jamaica economy inch on ventilation of IMF, World Bank, and IDB, Interdevelopment Bank. I yield back the floor to you, Sir Byron.
All right, blessings for that. All right, let me just ask Brother Rattigan to take it away.
Yeah.
Based on what we present, we are presented, and we have seen where, you know, when we track the investigation, we see that Andrew Holness has been rolling with them from in the 90s, from in that financial meltdown. He would have been aware of their level of criminality, right? That level of association involved into the financial meltdown. And here he is, right? Still being a strong associate of them. And as a matter of fact, his administration is doing everything to protect these criminals. What say you on the matter, Brother Ratty?
Yeah, I'll be brief with this because, I mean, Melting Pot and you want to do a comprehensive analysis of the issue. And I'll say that the Prime Minister knew or should have known about all of these things going on. It's an uphill battle to say that he did not know when he's surrounded by all of these characters.
Exactly.
So, let me just say he knew about it, or he should have known about it. But let me just switch and talk about somebody that you mentioned, both of you mentioned. Dr. Clark. Dr. Clark came out when this SSL thing started, and if you remember, if you recall people, he said that the FBI is here. And he went on to say that he even received a report and that they were advanced, far advanced than what he thought.
Yes, that's what he said.
Investigation, the point where the investigation should have been. And all of us were saying, no, man, this doesn't sound right. And particularly those in the field of investigation, they're saying, well, the FBI wouldn't come and work with a private entity like Kroll. They wouldn't, because Kroll doesn't have the clearance, the necessary clearance, and so they wouldn't be sharing stuff with them. Plus, if you look at the crime scene, and you see that the crime scene was clearly contaminated, and even more than contaminated, things were stolen from the crime scene after them say it's a crime scene. So that wasn't going to work. But here's what I have to tell you tonight, people. We said it. All of us here on this platform, we said it, that the minister was not telling the truth. We're talking about Dr. Nigel Clark when he was Minister of Finance. We said he was not telling the truth when he spoke about the FBI. And you know what happened? I now have the evidence. I now have it, that he lied when he talked about the FBI. You know why? I have a document from the Ministry of Finance. Now that he's gone, I guess they feel free to release information. And I asked them about all this stuff about the FBI. You know what they said? We have no documentation of any of these things you're talking about. So either they're lying or he's lying. Either they're lying or he's lying. Because he said all of these things. And you know what? You know what, panelists? I was looking for another document and I just came across it today and I don't even know where to find it now because it's not on this computer. But when I saw it, I couldn't believe it. I said, oh, how the hell I just skip past this one and never even pay attention to it. I know that you brought up the subject. Yes, I have the documentation from Ministry of Finance saying that they have no documentation about no FBI or nothing like this. The plain and simple. They said it. They said it. So this is just further proof that you cannot trust these people. You cannot trust them. You went from Nigel Clark, who was very verbose, full of big words, and him have a presence that you could tell that presence was cultivated because him looked like when he grew up, he was a little man, they were a bookworm, we just go sit down in a corner. Then all of a sudden now him find him voice and things like that, and because of his educational achievements, people start pushing him up front, and I guess he must have taken acting classes, but then, you know, he was there front and center. And then you go from him to the one that we have now, Minister Favour Williams.
When we return.
Chalk and cheese. But guess what? There is something that is common to both of them. They lie. They lie. So it don't really matter. It don't really matter the presentation, the presence. And by the way, there are two people who come highly qualified. If you're talking about university degrees, both of them come highly qualified. And both of them are equally liars. Both of them, they're not telling the truth to the Jamaican people. And as a result, we're all sufferers for it, and we will continue to suffer. And then if you look, both of them, they have something in common. They don't tell the truth. But they also have something in common. They serve the same master. The one we're talking about tonight.
But
I rest my case.
But Honorable Arati, you know what I want to ask you?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. In 2013, the People's National Party, right, would have take away the license from SSL, right? And as a result of certain breach, right? And have them partially prosecuted for the breaches. Now, in 2017, the Jamaica Labour Party had lifted, right, those sanctions from SSL. So my question, what we learn now, we learned that SSL did not have a security license under the Banking Act. So my question, Nigel Clark is the Minister of Finance at the time, right? Now, the FSC would have oversight as it relates to non-banking entity. Then if FSC has oversight, right, as it relates to non-banking entities, why they did not discover that SSL did not have a license?
You mean the question, why did FSC not know that?
Not being aware that
SSL
that
didn't have a
SSL
license?
doesn't have a license.
They knew. They knew. How could you be a regulator? And remember now, this wasn't something that, in fact, I saw the report. I saw the report. I don't know where to go find it, but I saw the report. They knew that SSL did not have a license and was trading without a license. Trading in the sense that they were investing. They knew that. And if you recall, they sent a letter over to Minister Clark. And they sent it two ways. They sent it by courier and they sent it by email. And who sent it to him? A gentleman who was one of his deputies over at the Ministry of Finance. He knew him. And when he said, yes, I sent it to him, remember what the minister said? He said, no, I didn't get it. Then he said, I took a weekend off and I went through some drawers. And I went through some drawers, I found it. And he said, I don't know how it got here, but I didn't get it. I didn't get it. So I guess he's not checking his email. And I guess when people, couriers deliver stuff for direct delivery to the minister doesn't get it. And that's okay. So the idea that FSC didn't know, I don't buy that one. I don't buy that. They knew. This is not even that this is another case of they knew or they should have known, because they're the regulators. They're the ones that get paid to go around and make sure that everyone is in compliance. And by the way, FSC...
Hold on, Ratty. They have to know. I don't want to use the word. I don't want...
they should have.
You use the word should have known.
Yeah,
Let me tell you what.
Yeah.
On a certain... whether annually, right, or biannually, they would have to have the time to renew their license.
That is correct.
For them to be practicing from 2017 to 2021, right? They would have to know that they didn't have any license.
That is correct.
And they protected them. So this is where I'm going, Ratty. This is where I'm going, and I want Jamaica to understand what I'm saying. So we come to the awareness that they were aware of the SSL not having a license. My question, because I mean this has to ask in court as well. If they know that SSL don't have a license, who would have authorized SSL as it relates to money from taxpayers' money, NIS, Ed Tax, and National Housing Trust going into SSL?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. No, that's not a good question. That's a very good question.
Excellent question. Because we see a guy scrape up the whole of them entity today, money and
because Martin Pat and Ratty, it is quite clear, right, based on what I'm looking at now, and what has to be borne out in court, that if SSL, right, doesn't have a license, which we know, based on the charges, they don't.
Mm-hmm.
How then the FSC allow them, right, to practice
To operate. Mm-hmm.
from 2017 to 2021? And not only that, why would Nigel Clark, being the Minister of Finance and the Director for NHT and the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, who made the decision in putting taxpayers' money into an entity that they know don't have a license, and this entity cannot trade? So what this is saying, Ratty, this is saying that the Prime Minister, Nigel Clark, and the NHT Director, they all commit fraud.
Definitely. Definitely, Sir Byron.
This is plain enough. How can they explain it?
They cannot.
Because no, this is unbelievable. I can't see how you understand. And remember, there's a clear history there, Melting Pot.
Yeah.
That SSL would have having some problem, would have experienced some problem, Brother Rattigan. You understand, with the People's National Party. Right? So the handing over and taking over procedure as it relates to the Minister of Finance via the People's National Party, right? And then over to the Jamaica Labour Party, right? That information, they would have known about that information. You agree with me, Brother Rattigan?
They would have.
So then, it doesn't make any sense here, so.
You know, sometimes, right? Sometimes you get asked some questions and there's no plausible answer. and the truth that will convict you. So it's either you tell some lie because you don't convict yourself. The question you ask is, like I said, it's a question that, you know, the DPP should have some weighing on this.
Exactly.
The DPP should have said, but wait a minute, how is it that, because remember now, the FID, right? FID and FSC, they both, the chain of command is through the Ministry of Finance. But also, they have a line going to the DPP. And this is one of the questions that the DPP should have been asking, or should have asked, and we have a new DPP now. She can still ask the questions like, how is it that SSL was allowed to trade and the Jamaican government invested, put money in it, and them don't have a license for the things that they're supposed to be doing? Who's responsible for this? Those are questions that should be asked.
But Ratty, isn't this a question that FID also need to isn't this an issue that FID also need to investigate?
Yes. And don't forget, FID is also looking into the Prime Minister's involvement with SSL. So the connection is there already. So FID can go ahead and ask the question. They can ask the question.
One more thing because I just add something very, very important. Yeah, because the fact of the matter that the Prime Minister acted on whatever information that was given to him, knowing fully well when to withdraw his funding, I want to ask the question, has the government entity funding been withdrawn, or was the government entity funding automatically becomes the Prime Minister investment? I want to ask that question. Because we don't hear anything about him taking out back the government entity funding. This is why this this individual at National Housing Trust must be investigated when all is said and done. This
Agreed.
continuation of giving $11.4 billion to Andrew Wallace annually and then having the audacity of allowing Andrew Wallace to use NHT contributors' money to put into a Ponzi scheme, and NHT contributor up till this blessed moment does not have any information whether that money was withdrawn by Andrew Wallace with his wealth of inside knowledge. Why would he leave the entity's money? And why would he take his? But to me, I think the money that him take from the 8 entities, he invested it for himself. And that's the money that he withdrew. Andrew wasn't going to put any of his physical money into SSL, knowing fully well what SSL is all about. So these money that you hear the entities them invest in a SSL, simple fact of the matter, we don't hear the entities get back those money. It means that's the money that Andrew Wallace walk away with.
No,
I about the floor.
yeah, but a melting pot. This situation is very serious because what it appears to me that both Nigel Clark, Andrew Wallace, and the man at NHT, right, colluded, right, in use that mechanism to steal taxpayers' money.
Yes.
Because they knew very well that SSL did not have a license and so cannot trade. And so then if that is the case, and they know that, which they ought to know that, right? Nigel Clark is the Minister of Finance. So this seems to be that Nigel Clark, Andrew Holness, and the NHT director colluded using this mechanism in terms of pushing the money into SSL to take it away. Now, this is really serious, you know. And why it is very serious is that you have this man as a prime minister, still as a prime minister. Can the prime minister comes out and tell us that, okay, the money is safe and the government get back the money? And if the government get back the money, there's another question that I have to ask. If the government is able to get back the money, why other investors can't get back their money? If the government get back that money, why other investors can't get back their money? And if other investors can't get back their money, it shows you the strong connection between Andrew Holness, Hugh Croskery, and all these people that involved, including Daryl Vaz.
Yes.
So this is extremely serious. But the reason why the corruption seems to be barefaced, which it is, I mean, FID, brother Rattigan, this is what I want to ask another question, brother Ratti. Do you believe that FID, right? Unless they just 530 in the case and not looking into the case, right? If FID at this time, brother Ratti, cannot come out and speak definitively to vindicate the prime minister, right? Is it a situation that FID looking on something that under no circumstances the prime minister can be vindicated? I'm just asking. What say you on that?
You know, the prime minister's attorneys, they've been asking FID for an update. This is a fact. They've been asking, I know this for a fact, they've been asking FID for an update, and so far FID has not responded. And I'm trying to figure out why. Is it because they've stopped the investigation? Because there's a pending court action. And so I can see where it would be reasonable for them to say, look, we're not going to proceed because we might proceed, and then the court, the court comes back and says, no, it shouldn't have been sent over to you, and then we'll waste all of our time getting all of this stuff, and then what we're going to do with it? We have to dump it. So I can see where they say, well, we're not gonna
Okay,
take.
hold on, Ratty, because I want you to make it clear for us. When you said that it can be stopped because the accusation, right, would be that it shouldn't be sent over to you.
Right.
Isn't that FID and MOCA and other agencies have a memorandum of understanding in terms of working together?
Yes. Specifically, there's an MOU between the Integrity Commission and FID. Yes, you're right.
Okay, so then that wouldn't be the situation in terms of that information going over to FID.
No, but because you have a pending court action regarding the transfer. Because remember, the Prime Minister was saying the information shouldn't have been. It's a ludicrous argument, but he's making the argument nevertheless, saying that the information, the investigation shouldn't have been transferred from the Integrity Commission over to FID.
Yes.
That is before the court right now. So
Yeah.
that's
Yes. What I'm saying, Ratty, we know that is before the court, right? So what appears to me, I am just saying what it appears to me that the Prime Minister would have known, right? His lawyer would have told him that there's a memorandum of understanding between Integrity Commission, FID, and MOCA. So on that basis, in terms of what the Prime Minister is doing, to me, seems to be only a delayed tactics. Right.
Yeah. See, what he's complaining about, the type of information that was shared. He's saying, no, they should have conducted investigation over at the Integrity Commission. They should not have transferred it. Now, the Integrity Commission is saying, well, the reason why we transferred it was because you didn't cooperate. And he's saying, I did cooperate. Everything you asked me for, I gave you. And that's where I said I fault them, because what they should have done, instead of going to FID, under the Integrity Commission Act, they could have gone to court and said to a judge, listen, we need to wrap up our investigation and we need information from him, the Prime Minister. He's under investigation and we've sent inquiries out to him and he's not responded. So what we need a court order. We need an order from you so that we can go and compel him to give us the information. What that would have done, it would have put the Prime Minister in an awkward position, because at that point he would have two choices: one, comply, or two, appeal and say, no, I don't have any information to give them, or I'm not giving them the information because of this and that. And you can just think about the optics, looking at it, and you see a Prime Minister a Prime Minister who ushered in the Integrity Commission. He didn't start it, but he ushered it in, right, into existence. And then to have him make all these fancy speeches over the years about the wonderful work that they're doing and that they're going to do with his support. And then to have him say, well, I'm not cooperating with him, it would look terrible. But they didn't do that. So let's look at what they did. What they did was, they sent it over to FID. They say, enough of this. We have an MOU with FID, and this is a financial. We believe that there financial crimes may have been committed. So let's just send it over to FID and let FID conduct the investigation. The Prime Minister interjected and said, whoa, not so fast. He went to court. So because there's a pending court action, I'm saying that FID, they might be tempted not to do anything about it, because they said, look, let's wait for the judge to make a decision. And then once the judge makes a decision, the judge says, no, it was a reasonable transfer, it was within the confines of the law, then we can do whatever we want to do. Now, having said that, that's just my opinion as to how I probably would have handled it. But remember what the Dennis Trung, the technical director, remember what he said? He said that they're investigating the matter, and in fact, they don't brief him. Remember, he said that they're trying to protect me, and so they don't tell me what's going on, which seems to suggest that something is going on. Question is, what is that something? Is it just shuffling paper and pretending like something is going on? Or is it really, solid, sound investigation? Because one of the things that I would like them to do, and they have the mandate, is to reach out to the Egmont Group, which is a group of financial investigators globally, and say, listen, we have a prime minister who's under investigation. Here's his name, here's his date of birth, any other particulars you need, because what we want you to do, because we don't have visibility overseas. So we want you to be our eyes and ears. Search your records and tell us if you have anything on the prime minister, his wife, and his children. And the reason for that is, even though the investigation is against him, there's a possibility that he could have transferred property assets into his wife's name, into his children's name. So he said, look all over the globe, Bahamas, Canada, the UK, Switzerland, wherever. They have the reach. That's what they should be doing. The question is, are they doing it? I suspect not. I suspect that they're just sitting there and they're just going to wait for the judge to come.
All righty, let me ask you another fundamental question, and this one is extremely serious. The DPP, per the Constitution give the DPP the power to initiate a case and the power to close a case.
And to take over a case.
And to take over.
I'm
glad you mentioned that. And to take over a case.
Mm-hmm.
Now, based on the DPP power, right? Even before Andrew Ones deal with that application in the court, could the DPP insert herself, instructed an investigator as it relates to integrity commission, reach at the point as it relates to they are saying that Andrew Ones cannot explain his wealth? If the DPP was the DPP for Jamaica, do you believe that the DPP at this point or at that point could have inserted herself if the DPP stand for justice? I'm just asking you. And what is the capacity of the DPP to do that?
Under the Act, if you put the Constitution against the Integrity Commission Act, and you read the applicable sections, you'll see that the DPP is the supreme prosecutor in Jamaica. As we said, she can start a case, end a case, take over a case, can do whatever. The corruption prosecutor assigned to the Integrity Commission is subservient to the DPP. The DPP is supreme.
Yes.
What the DPP could step in at any time before there's a verdict.
Yes.
It could step in at any time before there's a verdict and say, I'm taking over this thing. I'm dealing with this now. Yes.
So I want to hear from you, Ratty. Do you believe that the DPP is complicit?
Which one of them? Which one? This the new one or the old one?
I'm talking about both of them. Both of them.
Well,
both of them.
The new one, she made a lot of questionable decisions and a lot of questionable inaction where she was supposed to take action. She didn't take action and she couldn't give any plausible reason for her inaction. There were times when she could have stepped in. I'll give you a case. The Westcon. She could have stepped in a Westcon. The other one up at with the KCMC with a whole bunch of things she could have stepped in, but she didn't step in. I'm talking about the old one now. Yes. And the old one, based on her actions and her inaction, it would be difficult for someone not to understand that there was some kind of relationship going on between her and the government, whereby it seemed as if there were times when she should have prosecuted the government, or prosecuted a case against government officials, and she didn't. We know she has her history is laid in stone. Her history is there, right? It's there. It can't change. We can go back and look at the record and see what she didn't do when she should have done something. And so that led people, and will still lead people to believe that she was biased. She was biased in favor of the government, and so she didn't do certain things that she should have done. Yet we see where with the Vibes Cartel case, where she had a tainted jury, and she went after him with and vim and vitality, right? And she come out and she said with her own mouth, she said, "Yeah, I've worked with tainted jury case before." So now we wonder how many innocent people behind bars because of what she did with a tainted jury, right? She went after it like it was going out of style. Now the new one is a protege of the old one, right? And the new one, we have looked at, I think, about 8 major cases that she worked on, and she failed miserably. The people them get to it. You remember the one where the stepson paid somebody to shoot him stepmother in a church? Yeah, him get to it. Yeah. The youth change group, them get to it. It's a whole a laundry list. And yes, she's there right now. So she's proven to be incompetent.
Yes.
She's proven to be incompetent. And can she display some competence? I guess so, because she's there, but we haven't seen it so far. She's been very quiet.
Yes.
She's been very quiet. And I'm being told that she's taking instructions from some people. And so she just keep her head low and don't cause any controversy. Don't make any controversial move and come out and start what you have to prosecute. And no, let things ride. And you just stay where you are. It's only because of people like us that you kind of have the spotlight on her. Because otherwise, when was the last time you hear something written about her or said about her in the news in Jamaica?
Exactly.
Nothing. So I don't think if Mystic, if you were, I know you're not, but I'm just being facetious, saying if you were hoping for a change in direction within the DPP's office.
No, man, I burn them out, man.
It ain't gonna happen.
I'm going to hold on that Rocky, a melting pot, the melting pot can come into this store.
Yeah. Let me ask you, if this DPP, you talk, Sir Byron?
Yeah, I'm going to make a point. And say, you can come into this store. All right.
Yeah. Go ahead and make the point.
Yeah, the DPP, right? If you have a case that prolonged, right, as it relates to investigation, particularly where number 3 is concerned, and the investigator, right, seems to be faulty, and where the investigator failed, I want you to listen to me now, Inorati. The investigator failed to act appropriately in terms of doing the investigation, right, and bring the case in terms of a file. If that investigator failed to perform his duty and that be known, can the DPP recommend for that police officer to be charged?
Yeah, if it can show us that the person intentionally.
Here you go.
Yeah, you have to prove the intent. If the person, if it's a honest mistake, or even incompetence, then I don't think they'd bring the case. But if you can show that somebody, like for example, if somebody got paid,
exactly,
to get rid of the docket or something,
we can charge the police.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let me zero in now. Right? The case of Patrick Bailey. Right? To the fact that, okay, it is there that two persons in our house. A knife inflicted 20-yard stab wound. No breaking entry. If the DPP inserted her power, isn't that the DPP can get more done?
What is the DPP can get what?
Get more done in terms of bringing this case, you understand, as it relates to to complete the investigation. You're talking about from 2017, someone died, right? And the person's not even being interrogated. Don't tell me, Ratty, don't you think that the DPP can instruct the police to have that person interrogated?
You mean now?
Yes.
Yeah, but you and I know what the defense lawyer would say, right?
No, but may I ask you if it is in the capacity of the DPP?
Yeah, but what the DPP going to do, the DPP going to look and say, okay, the evidence, what we're seeking is all memories fade, people disappear, evidence get contaminated, missing. And so that's a struggle for the DPP to say, okay, how are we going to put this case together with all of the challenges that we have? Plus, don't forget, abuse of process. Somebody could have said, hey, but murder, there is no statute of limitation on murder. Just like there's no statute of limitations on corruption. But we see where somebody said, hey, somebody could raise the issue of abuse of process. So I don't see why they couldn't raise it here. But more so, I think they would raise it.
What other brother, Ratty? CJ is asking a question. He said, okay, let me rephrase. Hold on, let me put it up, brother Ratty. Let me put up this. Right, because we can speak on this.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. How much power does the DPP has over the police department and over the police commissioner? How about that?
All right. The administratively, not much, because they're two separate tracks, right? Because the DPP falls under something different than Ministry of National Security. However, think about it like this. The police cannot prosecute the case.
Exactly.
They need the DPP to prosecute the case. And the DPP, and a dear friend of mine who is uniquely connected in Jamaica called me this morning and we were talking. And she was telling me about a case where the evidence was there. And the DPP said, not this DPP, not a DPP said, yes, this looks good. We just need to freshen up some things. And everything was freshened up and more than what the DPP asked for. And it was presented to the DPP and said, all right, let's go. And DPP said, no. DPP said, no, I'm not going to move forward with this. And therein lies the problem. The problem is that if the DPP says, I am not going to prosecute, essentially that's the end of the case.
That's the end of the case.
That's the end. So if you have a good relationship with a DPP, you know it go.
There you go. So we have to blame the DPP. That's where you go, Ratty. We have to blame the DPP for this corruption to continue. Let me bring in melting pot. You understand? Because we have melting pot on the fire too long. All right.
Yes, and and my point was along the line of what just been said. Because if we were have a DPP, who cannot act on our own initiative, who does not use the role and responsibility of the office in a justifiable way, then that DPP must lift up and leave. Resign. Or else there must be another arm that can hold this DPP accountable and charge her for misconduct of the office. Because here it is,
Exactly.
I'm just hearing what I'm thinking all along. The DPP, can reject anything put in front of her, all when it has been well formulated and everything that and all the I them that and the T them cross. Yeah. And then she just use her own initiative and just disregard that. But it's a case that's supposed to go through the system of trial. We can't have a DPP and get the taxpayers' money who is working in that regard.
Yes.
That is saying to the entire society that this DPP It's program. Now, who is programming the DPP?
Good question.
Someone individual I can look on right now.
Yeah. I give
There's only one individual I can look on now where I program this DPP, and it's Andrew. You understand? And we cannot have a guy who cannot be certified from 1998. A guy who has also evaded a various amount of billions of dollars worth of tax. A guy who is doing various things that doesn't coincide with his job description. I never know when Jamaica people vote and vote in the Labour Party as a winning party. Because them don't vote for Andrew as the Prime Minister, you know. But the fact of the matter that Andrew become the Prime Minister of Jamaica. I know the people them never vote for a guy who go and come and do a whole heap of construction, development and ribbon cutting and all these garbage. Them vote for a man who is supposed to can turn around the economy and can point the country in the right direction as it relates to growth and development. But we have a guy who is just in the wrong seat. Him supposed to in a seat in somewhere in Mexico or Colombia or Nicaragua, those well-known established cocaine state. Because it look like other type of business that this guy invest most of him time into. You understand? That's why we don't see him address the problem of the high importation of cocaine into Jamaica. We don't hear him address no problem as it relates to the vast amount of illegal gun and ammunition that come into the country. We do not hear him speak about the state killing, the high rate of state killing as it relates to the policeman them having. Well, obviously you can't give them one of their statistics 2025. Because I know them suppress the numbers and bring it down to 312. So you know it did well above the 360 odd. Yeah? Because with them like to suppress the figures them, you know. But it does show you say the mafia guy we have around the place. A mafia guy who has amassed so much in wealth that he can buy out him, the DPP. A buy and programmer, you know. And he buy out several other, you know, where them call them now civil society personnel. People who are put in charge of role of responsibility and being highly paid but not performing because they are scared of an individual. So we have to ask the question, what cause some people are afraid that Andrew Holness and have to do what he want? Is it the fact that them know him is a dictator? Or them know him have a special police force in Jamaica? There is something that has kept Andrew Holness floating for this mighty long time. Because him should have sink and drown already, you know. So who want to get to the bottom of the root and want to keep him afloat? Is it the DPP? Obviously the light is shining bright and Claudette as the individual who has been charged with that responsibility to keep this guy afloat. So it seems like Strike 5 just pass on the baton and get she, you know. Because the right person for the job was an ex-female, you know. It was Beauty who's supposed to be the DPP, but it end up that we end up with the beast. You understand? We end up with the beast. No, I'm saying to the beast, beware of yourself. It's 28 now we have in Parliament, and this 28 is effective more than you can ever know. Continue to use the office as a bargaining tool for Andrew Holness, and I sure know you will meet your demise when the right time come, and time has something when a stop tick. It must come around. And these two DPP in recent time must be brought in front of the judge when all is said and done. We have known fully well how corrupt Paula Llewellyn was, and we have seen the same trend as it relates to the tendency of this DPP She has become lethargic. As a matter of fact, she come out and like them bribe her and say, you up now. Feel like you should have just run with the royal thing, you know. And get them people up on your side like you are. But you see, after you're done with film thing, just go sit down and relax, man. And just get your cash. Seems like a something like that a go on, you know. And even with the royal thing, it's still a drag along. Yeah. Now, when we look at these type of activity in Jamaica as it relates to the justice system in Jamaica, it tells you that something is wrong, radically wrong with the justice system. That entity has been bought by an individual to protect not just himself, but several members within his cabinet. That is the problem we have in Jamaica. And this is why the Jamaica Constabulary Force has become an entity that does not exist in the eyes of many people. Because nothing when them do can get prosecuted either, you know. It gets swept away. And in some cases, it drowned in a file 13. You understand? Or when you have video footage, you have to support the narrative. Like when we have said, yes, Ramario Sterling was murdered by the state. We have the video footage. We have the video footage when we have said Jabbar Parkinson was murdered by the state. And a crowd of them, same thing like we have around Ramario Sterling. Yeah, a crowd of army. Yeah. And Jamaica Constabulary Force, so it was a giant military operation. And Ramario Sterling was killed by a single bullet. But yet still it was reported that a shootout. No, I want to know if a DPP can so corrupt. If the DPP not see that the video. So it show you said the police them belongs to Andrew. And the DPP belongs to Andrew. And this is what is happening in Jamaica. This guy need to go, Jamaican people. Guy need to go. Them go up at Cherry Lane and them kill Jabbar Ferguson. And when it look bad upon them say a wrong warrant address them have. Then me want to ask them a little simple question. When the warrant, yeah, was constructed to send out, did who write the warrant know of the individual and know the individual whereabout, description, age and everything? Because if the warrant is a wrong warrant, you know. Me know, critical thinkers, yeah? Apparently, me I go say, well, obviously, it could have been a 45-year-old man. They may look for you have details for who. Boy, you come in and says a young look 20-year-old youth this. Him not fit the description of who. So when the warrant right or it wrong, where is the descriptive element that must come into play? Who you looking for? You know, the video or the photograph of that individual. Dress code, when I'm here, trim, or it plat, like in the case of Jabbar Ferguson. You have to have that. So we are asked the question, where is the justice for people in Jamaica? We have to get rid of the DPP. The two DPP in question, them for face legal interrogation and sent to prison. Them are criminal and them take kickback. The crime minister Andrew Holness. We know film crime taller than Mount Everest. So we don't do what we have to do with him. Because him not supposed to remain in a society, you know. When all is said and done, Andrew will put off your mighty long time when you see back this glimpse of daylight. You're supposed to have him in a maximum security center where light not shining at that. And I yield back the floor.
All right. Thank you, Melting Pot. Brother Rattigan and Melting Pot, I am going to read something here so that the entire Jamaican people who tune in, right, can see it in terms of why we said that the DPP, right, is responsible for the continuation of the corruption in Jamaica. The DPP is solely responsible. Look at this, Brother Ratty. Look at this. Now here it is. St. Kitts Nevis DPP filed charges. Let me read it over. St. Kitts Nevis DPP filed charges against 9 defaulters under Integrity in Public Life Act. That's similar to the Integrity Commission Act, right? So the DPP, you know, from a long thing, the DPP inserted, right, himself. This is the DPP. Now look at this. Bastarat St. Kitts and Nevis, Director of Public Prosecution, DPP, Adlai Smith, has filed charges against 9 defaulters. The DPP filed charges against 9 defaulters under the Integrity in Public Life Act, taken under the Integrity in Public Life Act, Cap 22.18 as amended. 2 public officials have been omitted and 1 extension granted per the list published. DPP Smith's enforcement action is follow-up to an initial press release issued on January 11, 2024 on public officials who failed to meet the filing deadline of January 26. Remember, you know, this is as a result of a press release, you know, and the DPP Act, you know. Now, in a press release dated February 1, 2024, DPP Smith advised as the DPP, I am tasked with upholding the rule of law and ensuring the highest standard of integrity among public officials. Adding, as of today, the deadline for compliance with the mandatory declaration requirements has passed. It is with regret that we note several public officials have failed to meet this obligation. Omitted an extension from the list. In accordance with earlier warnings, complaints were filed on January 31st, 2023 against public officials who failed to comply. The names of 2 public officials have been omitted from the list below, pending a legal opinion regarding the effect of their resignation and their obligation to file. Now, what's this, Brother Ratty and Melting Pot? Another has requested and been granted an extension until 5th of February on compassionate grounds owing to the death and recent burial of his mother. Now, DPP Smith explained. Now, all the public officials listed in the table below have failed to meet the filing deadline of 26 January 2024. This list represents a diverse range of position and organization, underscoring the universal applicability of the law to all applicable public officials. Now, hear this now. While I have been made aware that at least 1 public official has filed since the deadline, that name has still been listed because the deadline of the 26th January 2024 was the final deadline and the DPP charged him. Now, look at this. See the DPP, you know, hesitate Jamaica. Me have shown you the corruption in Jamaica. And when we say the DPP is to be blamed, we don't want nobody to go on corner and talk about, you understand, investigating yourself, file to this and rare, blah, blah, blah. And the DPP, him can't blame the DPP because rare, blah. The DPP is corrupt. See the DPP, send out the name of them people and look on this now. Combating corruption and maintaining public trust. Now, hear what the DPP said. I wish to reiterate the importance of these declarations in combating corruption and maintaining public trust. Were I to fail to follow through on my warning of certain prosecution, not only would the credibility of my office be damaged, but it would also set a harmful precedent that laws can be disregarded without consequence. And this is what Andrew Wallace and his administration has been doing, because Paula Llewellyn and Claude Thompson allow him to do it. In the DPP, these charges will carry the full weight of the Integrity in Public Life Act, with potential fines up to $30,000 or imprisonment for up to 3 years. Let me take it away and let me ask a question. Let me ask the panel a question. Based on this, Brother Ratty, let me put you, based on what we had just read out there, Andrew Ones statutory declaration cannot be certified going 4 consecutive years. Why the DPP cannot charge him like how St. Kitts DPP charge these politicians? Question.
Why the DPP can't charge him like how the St. Kitts DPP charge the politicians him?
Yes.
Well, we have to understand that there's an umbilical cord between the DPP's office and the office of the Prime Minister. We just have to understand that it's not written in the Constitution, except that the Prime Minister are the person who provide the name, right? And to the Governor General. But you would expect that there would be some amount of independence. But then being Jamaica, we have to come to terms with reality and say, and understand that there's no real independence. A prime minister is only going to put somebody there who's going to serve his purpose.
Exactly.
He's not going to go there and put somebody like me there who I'm going to say, well, then, boy, I'm independent and I'm here to serve the people of Jamaica, and therefore, wherever, let the chips fall where they may. And whoever, I don't care who you are, if you commit a crime, then so be it. You face justice. It won't happen, and that is the sad part, because we have this facade that we're a democracy, albeit a feeling democracy. But we have this facade says that, you know, it's a democracy, and people have certain freedoms, certain rights under the Constitution. But in truth and in fact, we really don't. Really don't. We're left up to, I'm going to use the phrase, whims and caprices of the politicians. And in this case, we see where the Prime Minister has taken advantage of his relationships. And what do I mean by that? When the Prime Minister can, nobody in them right man would ever think that Dennis Strong ended up at FID out of some independent thought or independent decision. Nobody can think that. This lady who is the DPP, nobody in them right man can't think so the Prime Minister say, I don't want to know who's going to be the DPP. I'm just going to, you know, somebody help me pick it, because I don't want to be, you know, accused of picking somebody who is partial to my situation. If you look at what he did with Rocky Mead, him try to make Rocky Mead into something that Rocky Mead wasn't qualified to assume. And then eventually, where's Rocky Mead now? Rocky Mead, I'm permanent secretary. And then you see him take this gentleman, you know, from the Navy, and then put him in charge of ADPEM. The poor man, no way, Mado. Lost in space, right? And we see all of these things. We see all of these appointments. Look at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I've been told that a lot, if not most, of the ambassadors / high commissioners, they're political appointees, which never happened before. Some of these people, they put them in places where the Peter principle is applicable. They have put them in a position of rise to the level of incompetence. Them can't do Jamaica any good. And so when you see a history like this, then you just have to kind of like hope, but at the same time expect. You hope for the best, but you just expect the worst. You just know that anybody the Prime Minister put in a position of authority, you just can just assume that that person is not there because that person is an independent thinker, and that person is going to render an unbiased opinion or judgment. It is not going to happen. And if you think that I have some bridges in New York I want to sell you, if you believe that the Prime Minister put people there and them independent and them going follow the line of justice to make sure that Jamaica is a just society, and if you commit a crime, you will be held accountable. No. So, in a nutshell, DPP should be doing what the DPP in St. Kitts did. Should be doing it. Because remember, she can take over a case, she can start a case, she can finish a case.
There you go. Well said, my brother.
So,
well said. All right, Melting Pot, close me out because close us out now, Melting Pot.
Yes. Well, we are looking from our point of view, Sir Byron and Brother Rattigan. Yeah, we are looking the DPP, and several more of these people where Andrew have that up all over the place. And some lunatic him put there, where we can overpower, Because if you know so well, then you don't really fit the job description because of your incompetence. But Andrew put you there. That simply means to say he's a yes man and a lucky in regards to Andrew Wallace having you working assiduously for just him alone. So it seems like the DPP not qualify. Yeah. It's like she want another 5 year but a Paula Llewellyn mentor. I don't know if that's why Andrew did extend Paula Llewellyn time at the DPP in order to provide the beast with some more training. But the beast now perform. As a matter of fact, the beast more dumber than Paula Llewellyn. At least Paula Llewellyn will come out and show the gap between her teeth without seeing nothing from this beast. You understand? The beast gonna hide, man. You understand? Because the beast knows that the Titan they run and the Titan have a beat her, But the beast still take the job. So the beast now no credibility as far as me concerned. And as several more individuals, Dennis Strong now no credibility either, Because him not qualify for the job round of feed, You understand? But we see this type of behavior by Andrew Wallace. Alvin Gale not qualify for ADPEM either. Rocky Mead, AK Planting, never qualify for the job where they put him in at first. Some ambassadorial role. You understand? Him have to bring him come now as more permanent secretary. Him still not qualify either. Still not qualify. So the country run in a way where blind people are lead the country. Blind people, people without qualification, substandard individual are put in high position under the Andrew Holness administration, which we know is a kleptocratic, corrupt dictatorship around the country right now. You understand? And it can't be that taxpayers have to pay this hefty salary package for nothing. I know about several youth, which should have get looking from the DPP. You have one such youth him used to the furniture work over Portland, And some little thing go on where some people frame him, And them frame him because them who in a problem with the youth have links to policeman and policeman write wrong statement. And youth lost in a prison with all them bad foot. All them thing that it hurt me. Cause the youth they don't get no justice, And the film case was a open and closed case. The evidence was stuck in his favor. But you're still in that prison because Paula Llewellyn decided to work with the Andrew Holness syndrome. Where if you're not connected to connection in a Jamaica, everything go wrong for you. You have to connect it with connection, then you get rights. No, we can't have Jamaica around that way then. We want Jamaica to come back in the hands of trustworthy people. People who we can look upon as statesmen, not man of corruption. People who will keep them name from out of the controversy ballroom. Not like Andrew and them administration and cabinet members them, where every week them rack up all 4 or 5 scandal. You understand? And them like to make headline because it did them operative nasty thinking dirty Big Mama and Draws Davis propagandization platform for work on. Where you have nasty big thinking Warthog and Fish Headless and all of them corrupted Guy Lizard and the whole of them. You know, straight edge the whole of them. Where Andrew have them a do. Andrew have them a send out misinformation and disinformation, you know. And have them a meddling at the country's affair in a wrong capacity. Yeah, and that is why Jamaican cannot get no form of justice for the money we are paid to run the country. And we have to stop this guy. By all means, we have to stop him 2026. We want to ask Paul Buchanan, because I know the listening program, you know. Where you go with this Privy Council case with this guy here? And why you not draw for ISAT as the legal representative, sir? Where you going for wild guy for? Wild guy now no track record, you know. Use the young, brilliant Colt, man. Use the young, brilliant Colt, ISAT Buchanan, who have track record and who have affiliation with Privy Council. Because we have to get rid of Andrew. I mean, you're not now going in a spectrum there. It did eat up and then it lose momentum. And it look like it lose traction. So we the Titans round here by the Mystic Sensation. We want to know. And we know now listen to the program. We want to hear something in regard to the court case with you and Craven here. Yeah, the people of Jamaica would longing to see that showdown, yeah, in a Privy Council. But you need to consider who you have going to represent you. Yeah, you can't use a guy where you know say him bat over the fence there. Or you leave out ISAT. Me ask the question, you know. ISAT to sit on that case, yeah. So me just say it make you hear because comrades, you know. Comrade, we are closely knit community. And we are the people who have the love and the heart and the desire to see Jamaica restore back to its former glory days of paradise. Yeah? We don't want to see Jamaica now get a name of corruption and lies. Lies have bite the people all over. We want the country go back to where it was. Back in the 70s. Under the stewardship of Michael Manley, coming down in the 90s to the 2000 period, under Sir Percival Patterson, and under the Portia era, it was dynamic as well. Jamaica was seen as a country that had a model that could use to elevate a lot of third world country. Yeah. Simply because the method was working in terms of, you know, getting back the economy on a firm footing. Yeah? So where Jamaica finds itself currently in the last decade is in a precipice. And the country cannot rely on the same people them to pull the country out of the precipice where them plunge it in. So it needs a changing of the guard. And we are saying that the changing of the guard, we don't want it to reach to the mandate period of another 5 years. That is too much for Jamaican to bear. It can be easily solved and ending at the Privy Council. So we want to know what are going with that case there. Yeah, because we know so we lose the election through unfairness. And if there's a place and time for you to solve that problem, you have to solve it once and for all. So me no want further along the line, me hear say Andrew money frighten some people and buy out the case, you know. Because you know, melting pot talk straight, you know. Melting Pot is not a man where I come round here so and things that worry him head and him afraid to talk it. As long as we keep it within the confinement of a program, I go ask the question. I need solid answer. Me no want to no turn idiot over this guy. Corrupted, dirty money where him have a splash all about the place and buy out people and sell out a case here, I know. That case here, Jamaican depend on it. Not just the people, but the country. Depend on this case being brought to the Privy Council using a credible source that will defend your case, Mr. Buchanan. And I'm putting forward Isaac Buchanan for Paul Buchanan. I yield back the floor to you, Sir Lord Byron.
All right, we can't get it better than that. Melting Pot, fling down the sledge. Right, so Jamaica, we want to say big thanks again in terms of passing through. Really appreciate, you understand the people tuning in, really love that. Right, so let me just hand over to Wifey to close us out. Wifey.
Okay, guys, I'm just going to say blessings and thank you guys again for tuning in. Make sure you tune in to Mr. Rattigan tomorrow evening with Come Reason with Rattigan and tune into all the other platforms as usual. And have a wonderful and productive rest of the week. We'll see you on Thursday.
Yeah.
And Melting Pot, keep slinging the sledge. Keep slinging the sledge.
Me not every time, lady and Marie. Me not all when me a walk and a hop, me a carry the sledge on my back. Cause you know me have to wheel it off and make 1 and 2 jump.
All right.
Okay, guys. So safe travel on the gravel until next time. Bless up.
No.
I don't want you come to me with that foolishness, you know. You elect a prime minister, and is a prime minister run the country. It is time we learn to hold our leaders accountable for their actions and stop making excuses for them. Stop making excuses. Otherwise, go elect the people who really run in the country. And I don't want the right start that stupid argument. Hold the people you elect accountable and stop making excuses for them.